Can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
Can I hear me?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Test.
Test.
Yeah, man, I'm talking about realest, one of the realest to try. My fam.
Pulling this Red podcast episode 27.
Are you sure? I think
It's
last week was 27.
Last week was
I'm
26.
sure John said 27 last week.
Is 26 in YouTube yet?
It's going up tonight.
Got it. And then number 7 just went live to the public. And then 26-ish somewhere
Tomorrow. 26
goes
is
live to the members. So that was pretty quick, huh?
Yeah, super quick.
So this is we've never made a single 308 mag pouch. And there was actually some concern that because we're building these for these P mags, and there was some concern that they might not fit M14 mags.
I thought they wouldn't fit.
And we're like, well, does anybody use? I mean, what about all those guys that bought those crazy SEAL team, the Sage chassis?
I mean, people bought them, but
The 24-pound.
nobody's like. I have a Sage chassis.
I have
we
an
got
airsoft
them from
one.
the Army.
It's so cool. It's so cool. Anyways, single mag pouch, 308 footprint. We never built it because it doesn't really space on pals perfectly. But after doing that giant, what was that fucking thing you had last week?
Origin 12.
Or I don't know why I can't remember the name of that.
Origin
If
12.
if you've got a magazine fed giant ass shotgun, we got a pouch for it. We actually didn't build any more of them. I was surprised that there wasn't a lot of, hey, when are those coming out? Nobody really asked me any questions about them. So I haven't done anything with it. But here's a single 308. And you said you want 12 of these?
12, yeah.
12.
I'll need at least 12.
And you want to do, how are we going to?
Maybe 11 because they're heavier.
Are you going to face them face to face, or? Because we're just building these ones slick. There's no pals on
No,
these
I
things.
want to do it just like the M1 Grand rig.
So
where
you
it's
want six mags down?
6 down, 6 up.
mags up.
Yeah, 6 mags down, 6 mags up.
Are you going to carry, what is this, a 30 rounder?
That's a 25 rounder.
A 25, are you going to carry 25?
Of course.
Mags.
Why would you carry 20s? Why would you carry a 20 if you could get a 25?
Well, then you don't, and if you did that, you don't have to wear, plates.
No, you don't.
Except these new bullets zip right through plates.
Maybe they do, maybe they don't. They say the 277 Fury does, but maybe they do, maybe they don't.
So this will fit 20 rounders and the 25 round mags. This will fit your M14 mags. It works for everything. We've got bungee on the top. You can tighten the bungee down to fit whatever height magazine you want. That's really, if you see these and you want one, leave some comments or hit us up through email or whatever. I don't know how many of these we're going to build or if we'll even put them on the website.
13.
We're going to build 13.
Somebody will buy one. Come on, guys. Buy one.
13.
Because I need the others.
So if you need 308 mags,
I need to do a PSA.
go ahead.
I need a 3-minute PSA.
Yes,
because the internet is on fire.
Mm-hmm.
It is amazing how many of you people
are mad about Crocs.
Are in your fucking basement, like just in your basement with nothing better to do but send hate mail. First off, experiences may vary. I don't care what you did in the Army. Matter of fact, at this point, outside of drinking beers with you, I don't care what you did in the Marine Corps. You're here watching us. So I don't need to quantify anything that happened in my time, in my 20 years in the Marine Corps, to you. Your experience may vary. First off, that little soundbite on TikTok, people got so upset that I was mad at pistols, that pistols are shit.
I saw dudes like, the Beretta 92 is the most reliable pistol. You just didn't maintain it.
Your experience may vary. We maintained our weapons quite well. And the Beretta 92 is not, it's a military Beretta 92 is not notorious for being reliable. Okay. It's just not. The other thing is, when we talk about pistols as a defensive tool, a pistol, if that is all you have, a pistol is a great thing as a defensive tool. It's right above a knife. So if you have to choose between a knife and a pistol, get a pistol. It's a great defensive tool, but stop living in your fantasy worlds where you think that you're going to John Wick everybody with your fucking Glock 92 or whatever Glock you're carrying.
They were mad you said, they were mad you said Beretta 19.
Yeah. So stop worrying about your fantasy that you're going to do this. Okay. Because the reason why an M1 carbine exists is because way back in the 40s, we realized that a pistol is not very good for combat. Okay. The reason why the MP7, which all you HK guys are just going to go, yes, the MP7 exists is because in the 80s, they realized that handguns are worthless in combat. And so they created the MP7 and the P90 so they could give it to individual soldiers that are normally issued a pistol, because a pistol is not really great for combat. It's not, okay? Contrary to what you believe, go ahead and look at terminal ballistics. Do a little bit of your own research about how many people are shot with handguns in the United States every year and survive to see the next day. They're not very good, okay? But again, as a defensive tool, if that's all you can carry, you carry it. You carry a pistol. Now, I'm telling you this. I carried a pistol with my M16 or M16 variant of some sort, M4 or A4, my entire 20 years in the Marine Corps. Even when our platoons weren't really supposed to have pistols, we figured out a way to get pistols. Did it ever become the tool that I was like, oh my God, I'm glad I carried this for 20 years? Not once. Even when I had to use it, it was not a relevant tool. I would have been better off if I would have carried another M16 magazine or two M16 magazines, because I always carried too much 9mm ammo. So again, do your own research. P90, that exists because pistols aren't really that good in combat.
So are you saying that Martha and Bonnie down at the customs office, they don't carry pistols, they just carry a P90 now? Because that's who has all those fucking things, is the US Customs.
It's mostly Secret Service, the P90's doing that because they realize, the Secret Service has even realized that a pistol is not very good. And if you go ahead and do a little dupe scoop research yourself, even the P90 and the MP7, the SEALs use that MP7 quite a bit. I'm sure Delta probably played with it a lot too, but the SEALs really used it. Like, they employed it.
Dev groups got them.
And guess what? They're kind of over MP7s because it doesn't have the same, it doesn't give you the same thing that an M4 carbine will give you. It just doesn't. It's cool. It looks bitchin', but it's the idea was it was supposed to go to truck drivers so they wouldn't have to carry a pistol. Now, because the MP7 looks cool and it's bitchin', it went to Navy SEALs and secret ninjas.
What was that? What's that base across from Miramar? It's like an Army Reserve base. It wasn't Camp Elliott. There's another one right there.
I don't know. I don't remember.
We went to a less lethal thing over there, and they had all these bleachers and all these fucking guys with a bunch of fucking bad metals and shit, brass guys over there. And it wasn't less lethal. It was, they were showing the Colt had a Mars system. It was like this little tiny, it's when everybody was starting to look at all these other calibers, these 5.7s and shit. And Colt had some super little for inside vehicles and executive protection type shit. But none of it was supposed to be less lethal. We were going down there to look at, and none of it was less lethal. And that was the first time I saw any of those weird cartridges like that. And that was in late 90s, maybe.
Yeah, 80s is
like, that's when, and that's when that stuff, all that shit was there.
The 80s is when
and all the military dudes were
when the military put out the requirement for something to increase lethality in the pistol frame. Right? I mean, you can even think of MP5. MP5, it's cool. I carried one for a little while I was in the Marine Corps. Certified. But guess what? Even the MP5, because it's a 9mm, is not as good as an AR, an M16, an M4 carbine. Not as good. So you have to think about what we're talking about. If you're Joe Citizen, okay? You're just Joe Citizen, which I am Joe Citizen now. That's my bag with my pistol in it. I'm Joe Citizen, and that's all you have to defend yourself because you can't really walk around with an M4 carbine. Then it's the best defensive tool you can get outside of being able to carry a real weapon. But don't fool yourself into thinking that it turns you into something you're not. It requires so much more training, so much more training to be proficient with that pistol than any long gun. I can give my grandma a long gun, and in one day worth of training, she could easily hit targets out to 100 yards, no problem, all day long. You can't do that with a pistol. And the other thing with a pistol, it's a skill set that you have to continue to practice. You know, when you think about everybody is trying to emulate what Delta and Dev Group and the SEAL team got, because SEALs, SEALs.
The crazy shit is they don't have a fucking clue what those guys are doing. They see some shit on TV.
Yeah.
Tyler Gray's done an amazing fucking job, but they don't have a fucking clue what's going on.
I mean, when you think about those guys, like I will say that the SEALs.
I don't mean Tyler. I mean the motherfuckers watching the TV show don't have a clue what's going on.
The SEALs are more proficient in handgun use than most services, but they are a unique entity within the Navy, so that makes it a little bit easier.
They bring in Jerry Micklick, and they bring in they bring the dudes in. And what a lot of people don't realize too, a lot of the platoons go to schools, right?
Yeah.
Even when you were at SOTG, right? You guys were going to Gunsight, you were going out to Thunder Ranch, you were going out to what's Kelly McCann, the Crucible out there.
Yeah,
what was his?
I don't remember.
His school. Like they had a full bar set up where you'd walk in and do scenarios, right?
Oh, yeah,
I remember.
I forgot. Cheney went and did his
monkey
knife class.
stop, right? Monkey stomp.
Yeah.
When they were coming in with like line and belt systems and shit. But I remember Phil telling me because I stand like this. He's like, no, stand like this, right, with your dominant hand on top because you can strike. And he's like, that was part of the thing we took away from those classes.
Yeah,
it's just little things, but they're constantly evolving and training.
Yes, they're constantly evolving training. It's one of those things that you don't seem to most people don't understand. It's like, I'll just use Delta as an example. Dev Group's the same way. For the most part, regular SEAL teams are the same way. Force Recon. I'm sure MARSOC spends quite a bit of time on the pistol range. But your normal Marine Corps battalion, your normal Marine Corps infantry battalion, the pistol is for staff NCOs and officers. Okay, that's how it was always issued.
I mean, for Christ's sake, it used to have a flap on it.
Yeah, that's how it was always issued. And the reason why is because the colonel doesn't want to go from meeting to meeting carrying an M4 carbine. So that's his pistol. It sits in the armory. It never goes to the field, rarely, because he's the colonel. Same thing with your staff NCOs and your officers. They're all issued pistols. Now, I know that the current Marine Corps has changed that a little bit about who can get pistols. But again, every single time a battalion is standing up to go to real combat, every single time, the first thing that everybody does is argue over how many extra rifles the battalion needs to support the staff NCOs and officers who are just issued pistols. Because no one's going to combat and going, I'm glad this is what I got. This is the thing. This pistol is the thing I have. So
Didn't a corpsman used to have a pistol only? Normal corpsman?
Yeah, I think they. I don't remember if our doc carried a pistol or not. I'm sure he did. I just don't remember.
Back in Vietnam, like my father was attached to 1st Marine Division. He was a corpsman, and I think he said when he first went in there, all he had was a pistol.
That's so again.
Back then,
when we talk about pistols, you're talking about a defensive system. So a corpsman could technically carry a pistol and still be considered a non-combatant because he does not have a weapon that is for offensive use. It's for defensive use. It's the reason why they gave pilots pistols.
Yeah, but the NVA was smoking fucking communicators and fucking medics.
Yeah, they don't. I mean, we're the only ones that
follow.
I don't want to say
we're the only ones that follow our rules.
Our rules, but for the most part, again, pilots don't get executed on the ground because they don't have M4 carbines. Interesting that the Air Force is issuing pilots now rifles that are going in the jump seat.
What are they issuing?
It's some sort of, I don't know the name of the
not
rifle.
Not that survival rifle thing.
It's not a survival rifle. It's a real M4 that folds in half or comes apart or some shit that they can, because the issue with the aircraft is always space. There's a limited amount of space in there, and they created this rifle that I think it comes apart maybe and goes in the jump pack that's underneath the seat or somewhere. But they're starting to issue rifles too because, again,
that's interesting. I hadn't heard that.
A pistol is not a great tool. It's a tool, and you can become very proficient with it. You can become super proficient with it. you could be in Delta Force and get more ammunition every year than the entire allotment for the Marine Corps. But even the Delta guy is not going to be like, I'm real cool with this pistol. I think I'm going to go into Mogadishu and cap some bodies. He's not going to do that. He's going to carry his max amount of magazines that he can carry, his M16 or whatever ninja rifle. There are probably 416s over there now, whatever ninja rifle they have. And he's still going to carry that pistol because he's certified in CQB, close transition. He's going to do transition drills with his pistol, but a transition drill doesn't mean anything if your targets are 100 yards away.
The pistol is for because it's a problem to have an M4 carbine at the dinner table at Ruth Chris. That's
Yes.
what the pistol's for. The pistol's to fight to the rifle. The pistol's because all the questions you're going to get when you walk in the mall with the fucking rifle.
Yeah. It's just, it's interesting how people think it is. Like the other thing that I thought was weird, the comment where people were commenting about the heavy rig.
Yeah.
About the rig, which is only 13 pounds, guys. I don't know what.
That's, yeah, a loaded magazine is 1 pound.
Yeah. I don't know what your problem is. But the comment was like, I want to see him run in that. I want to see him run in that. Do you know the only place, do you know the only place where you run? It's on square base for the most part. Yes, there are certain maneuvers where you're going to have to run. But the reality is you don't run in combat. If you run in combat again, your experience may vary, but we're not running. We're not running. You're doing a combat patrol, which means you're walking. You're not running. I did have one corporal that wanted to run the whole combat patrol, which was mind-boggling.
CrossFit guy?
No, he wasn't. He was. I mean, Endicott was his name.
Do you think he'd outrun the bullets?
No, it wasn't outrun the bullets. Is that we were at that time we were taking. Somebody was bracketing us. Somebody was learning how to use an ACOG, and they were shooting at our patrols whenever they would stop.
Where did they get ACOGs from?
From the battalion before us. They had a pretty good fight, and they lost some weapons. But again, in his head, which is true, if we run everywhere, then it's going to be harder for them to hit us. The problem with when you say run everywhere is that when they do hit you, your guys are going to be too tired to do anything about it anyway. So it kind of doesn't make any sense.
So these guys commenting heard a 13-second clip of a 2-hour podcast, right? What they don't realize is you had taken over a police station.
Yes.
There was a perimeter wall.
Yeah.
You had gotten compromised. The entire city's on the way in. These guys commenting like, no, combat loadout is 6 mags. Yeah, in peacetime maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe in peacetime on
here's the thing when somebody says a combat loadout is 6 mags. That's a statistician problem. The reason why, and he's like, oh, they call it a combat loadout for a reason. The reason why they have that is so your S4 can ensure that they have the proper amount of ammunition for the battalion. Okay, so that's a strictly a peacetime allocation, meaning if I want to know how much ammunition a battalion needs in 5.56, I know this because I know how many magazines each Marine is issued, and so that's how much ammunition you are allocated every year to train with, okay? Now, when you go to real war, I know a lot of you are COD warriors. It's so funny. What
is a COD warrior?
That's what I said too when I was looking at the thing.
There's a lot of terms in there.
There's a lot of
fucking. I'm even asking the guys talking shit to me like, hey, what does that word mean?
If you are abbreviating Call of Duty,
oh, got it.
Hey, you got to get out of your mom's basement, bro.
I said something to a man. I'm like, you're a trad wife. She's like, what? I go, that means traditional. She's like, I can say the word. Like I'm a grown woman. I can use the entire word.
It's just funny that all these Call of Duty, everybody's learning how to fight war from Call of Duty and TV movies.
So my perception of it is like the 6 mag loadout thing. Okay.
Well, no, it's a statistician thing. It's how a battalion gets its allocation of ammunition, and that's how it's done. But
the kid,
at no point
the MP right? At the chicane.
Yes.
You know, he maybe he has 6 mags. Maybe, okay, whatever. So all you're telling me is you've not been fucking shot at. When dudes are like 420 rounds, I go, did you not ever play paintball or BB gun wars? Even if you played airsoft, okay, even if you had 6 mags in airsoft, your magazines hold what, 200, 300 BBs?
Yeah. No, it's just it's again, what they're trying to point out is things that are irrelevant when we're talking about combat. There at no point when troops are crossing the line is anybody going, hey, whoa, is that 9 magazines? Oh no. Your TO is only 8. Your TO is only. At no point are they doing that. As a matter of fact, every single time U.S. troops cross a threshold into combat, the statisticians, the 4 guys, are more than happy to give you more. They don't give 2 shits about 8 magazines is the combat load. They don't give 2 shits about that. They will give you as much ammo as you are willing to carry. So it's ridiculous. I mean, I just saw a thing with, Kyle Lamb just recently, and he was talking about his experience in Mogadishu.
Yeah, wasn't he just on? I just saw Kyle Lamb on somebody's podcast.
Yeah, and he was talking about his experience in Mogadishu. Now, here's a Delta operator, and what did Delta take away from Mogadishu? We need to carry more mags. We need more ammo. Now, I did not have to learn that in Mogadishu. I learned that very early in my Marine Corps career as a fucking Lance Corporal, because the Marine Corps left me in the desert to fend for myself. So if they can in peacetime leave you in the middle of nowhere to fend for yourself, then they're willing to do that anywhere, in a jungle, in a fucking desert. They're willing to let that happen anywhere. So again, you're going to fight and die with what's on your back. Okay. If you can make a conscious decision that you're only going to carry 3 magazines and take out your back sappy plate. Again, you're going to fight and die with what's on your back. It's like
we don't need water. I don't need rear plates.
It's like jump school. Okay. If you go to jump school, oh God, all the jump school haters too.
And the croc guys.
Your experience at jump school may vary. Now, I'm going to assume that all you guys said that when you're like, never, ever did they allow Marines to be in charge of squads at jump school. I'm going to assume that you didn't retread for an entire year. I'm going to assume, like most people with jump wings, you only went to jump school one time. Now, I only went to jump school one time. And guess what? I graduated. I was the squad leader along with the other 5 Marines that were in that stick. So your experience may vary. I don't understand what all the hate is, especially from the airborne guys, because you guys are supposed to be fucking better than that, but I guess you guys are petty.
Let me tell you why. You're talking to 25-year-olds.
Well, I mean,
it is a different fucking military right now.
The
conversations we have about current Marine Corps, I see guys having the same conversation about the Army. It is a different set of kids. Do you remember when we would have a kid come in, write a check, and the check would bounce? And we would literally...
Yeah, they can't do that anymore.
We would call command, and the fucking CO would send that motherfucker in, or he's like, oh, we'll lock him down. I'll take away all his leave for the next fucking 2 months. I'll have him down there and he'll be there in 90 minutes to pay you, right? That shit doesn't happen anymore. When would you have ever seen a dude in uniform come on and be like, I'm so-and-so and I'm in this unit, and just fucking talk shit to a company? Like that, they would have arrested a kid for that shit. Like he would have been busted by command for representing the U.S. military in that manner, right?
Yeah.
Things have changed.
I know.
Things have greatly changed.
I know. Your experience may vary, but in my jump class, Marines were all put in charge of the squads because, as I physically saw a PFC in the U.S. Army talking shit to a black hat, which, again, am I the weirdo because I think that a PFC in the U.S. Army should give a black hat all the respect endowed on that guy who has probably... I mean, I don't know what it takes. I don't know how the Army runs black hats or what it takes to be a black hat. But I'm going to assume, because I knew this guy, that he's got combat jumps from the 82nd Airborne. He's probably got, I don't even want to imagine how many fucking regular jumps he's got under his belt. And you've got this no-name piece of shit PFC talking shit to him and getting away with it and no one doing anything about it. That's the jump school I went to. I'm sorry if that is not the jump school you went to. I didn't go in your class, or maybe I did. Maybe we were in the same class. But
the other one,
whatever.
the other one was there.
It's just
the other one was
guys in their basement.
It had to be Vietnam because there's a Huey.
No, Huey.
Like they really think like they don't fucking get it. The helicopter, right? Running the minigun. And there was a ton of dudes. For every dude talking shit, there was a dude's like, you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Like I carried 16 mags or whatever.
Yeah, you know what? If you were following that thread, you might have seen somebody commenting. And I did make some.
Who are you commenting as?
Well, I don't have a.
Are you logged in on our account somehow?
No. I have a TikTok.
Because there was another SOE guy in there.
No, I have a TikTok page that has nothing on it. It's just a name because I like watching videos on TikTok because I love storytellers.
So are you aware these same posts have been put up on Instagram, and YouTube, and Facebook, and they're even crazier on Facebook.
Somebody told me that, and I was like, I don't have the.
So Jeff was supposed to. I'm like Jeff. Go take a picture of this magazine in that split front chest rig, and he's like, okay, as soon as I get back in, I'll do it. And 2 hours later, he's like, sorry, man, I got sidetracked. I was in the comments on the video.
I was in the comments on TikTok, and again, what pulled me out of it...
There's over 6 million views on the video, and there's over 6,000 comments right now on that.
What pulled me out of it was you could tell. Guys in their basement playing fantasy football and Call of Duty.
They have virtual girlfriends.
Call of Duty. And then I'll
bet their virtual girlfriend they made has a penis.
And then military guys. And the military guys would, I think, again, I didn't go through all 6,000 comments because once I started seeing.
Hey, penis girl guy, does your penis girl also have a vagina, or did you just have her built just straight penis?
Probably a big clit.
Oversized clit, underdeveloped penis.
But then I would see actual military guys commenting and be like, okay, the world has not gone to complete hell in a handbasket. These guys, there's like real dudes out there that are making comments, but this is what I'm going to say.
You know what they forgot? I didn't see Boomer this time.
I technically I am kind of a boomer.
No. Boomer's I think Boomer's 60 years old or
older. I'm close. I'm close.
I think you have to have been able to be in Vietnam to be a boomer.
Oh man, I missed it by a couple years. Anyways, so it's crazy that all these people are commenting, and they're like, I was kind of getting into the comments, and then I'm like, again, here are people that have nothing. They have nothing in their world that only COD. COD is their glorious God, and
I thought COD was like a cod piece, which I thought is like a flap that covers your wiener or something.
At first, I was like, "What the fuck are they talking about? What are they talking about?" And then I'm like, "Oh, these guys are so fucking high speed. They're abbreviating Call of Duty. That is awesome. That you're that high speed that you're sitting in your basement watching a video game."
Here's another thing. Okay, as far as what'd you say? 13 mags. 13 mags, right?
Yeah.
So 13 mags. Maybe you're not the weight of 13 mags. Maybe you're not aware. There are millions of dudes around the world buying backpacks and plate carriers, and they're putting fake weight in them, right? They're putting GoRuck makes them, fucking all these companies make it's like a metal plate. It weighs 25 pounds, 35 pounds. And they go out and meet in these major parks and go fucking ruck with a plate carrier on, and they're doing CrossFit and shit, right?
No, they don't, John.
No. Hold on.
No, they don't. There's no way.
Not the shit talkers. And
I know, not the shit talkers. I'm just saying that's what's going to come across on
like,
go
to Rogue Fitness, go to GoRuck.com. Any of those companies, they're selling fucking millions of these things. It's a fucking like a fake plate carrier that carries 50 pounds of weight, and they go out and fucking hump all weekend long and shit. And there's chicks, and there's fat chicks, and there's fat dudes, like, and then there's other dudes like You just one shot, one kill. I wasn't in the military, but my father told me. Awesome, dude. Great.
Hey, even scout snipers, they average 3 per kill. 3 shots per kill. That's the average. So
Did you miss some?
Huh? Yeah, I did miss.
With a bolt gun?
With a bolt gun once, yeah.
What happened?
Shooting through a window. So
Didn't you?
7-story shooting through a window.
Isn't your name on the publications for aerial platform, glass deflection, and chain link fence shooting?
Yes.
You like a Marine Corps publication that is still used to this day.
But again, for some reason, the things that were important to learn, we did after we actually were doing things. So, like for example, when you're talking about shooting from an elevated position, right? They didn't teach none of that in sniper school at that time. They weren't teaching that in sniper school. That was advanced sniper school. You had to go to Quantico.
You know who was teaching it?
Who?
Clint Smith. Thunder Ranch was teaching it.
I don't think he was at the time. I don't think Clint was teaching it at that early.
Okay, so back to Mogadishu.
Okay, Mogadishu.
The birds go down, right? Little birds go down. When did you roll in there? From the time
4 days.
4 days.
4 days after. 4 days after we landed in.
So from
Somalia.
the time the birds hit, we lost a Black Hawk too, right?
Black Hawk. Yes.
Yeah, because it's Black Hawk down, and then we lost a Kiowa, a little bird.
I think it was 3 Blackhawks.
Okay, so Blackhawks go down. Rotors,
it's been a long time, guys. I'm sorry.
So Blackhawks down.
You don't have to yell at me because I don't know the tag numbers on the fucking birds that went down in Mogadishu.
So from the time the birds went down, when did our last when did our last guy get it? How long till 10th came in?
Oh, 10th was already there. 10th was there.
10th Mountain.
Yeah, 10th was
they were not on target though, right?
No, 10th Mountain 10th Mountain was part of that day. Like they were part of the day. They attempted to get to the Besiege and Rangers that were trying to get off the target site. They attempted. But the problem was, remember, this wasn't a combat mission, right? It wasn't a. I say it wasn't a combat mission.
I remember sitting in a brief you were given at sniper school, and it probably went for it might have gone 3 hours,
maybe.
And it was like I remember getting goosebumps listening to that shit because I think it was. I want to say, the movie might have been out. I don't think the movie was even out at the time.
If I was given it at South Scout Sniper School, the movie wasn't out yet.
And because we just heard CNN shit. I mean, you saw it happen on CNN.
Yeah, 10th Mountain went to the rescue of. When I say went to the rescue, they were trying to help the besieged Rangers and the Delta guys get back to the UN compound. But because of the type of mission it was, 10th Mountain didn't have any heavy equipment. There was no armored vehicles, nothing. They had Humvees. And when they got to K4 Circle, I believe it's called, when they got to K4 Circle, they got ambushed, heavy hit RPGs, and they were actually pushed back to the...
Is K4 Circle what the skinnies call it, or is that what we designated it?
I think it's the actual official name. Even they call it K4 Circle. I think it's the official name. But when they got to that circle, basically, Mogadishu is it's similar to, it was owned by the Italians, so it's very European in styling, and so they have all these roundabouts that you have to go through to get...
It used to be luxury.
Yeah, to get to these certain places, and that's where they got ambushed, and that's where they got hit hard and pushed back. I mean, they tried, but the reality is that day everybody was going to have to fight and fight hard.
So not 6 mags?
I am sure that there were guys running around with 6 mags. Okay. Because again, this was the 80s. I mean, 93. Sorry. This was the 90s. We hadn't really been fighting anywhere. And so, and this was the other thing that most people don't understand is this was basically a milk run for Delta. Like they'd already done 10 of these fucking raids, right? They're doing them and it's happening. The Rangers are kicking ass. They're picking up the people they had. This just happened to be the time that the Somalis were like, hey, we're going to fight these motherfuckers. And And they did. Now, what I'm telling you is they all had to go get more ammunition. They ran out of ammunition on the op, and the Delta guys, and I'm sure every single one of the Rangers that survived Mogadishu, they immediately went, bring your NVGs, even if you don't think you're going to need them. Bring more ammo, even if you don't think you need it. And God damn it, you need 2 sappy plates.
And water.
You know, I always,
that's the takeaway.
I always kill out water. Everybody's like, bring water. But I mean, if you look at my staff, I've always carried 4 canteens, always. Now, again, there's going to be people out there going to be like, oh my God, I can't believe you carried 4 canteens. That's so heavy. Again, you have to understand in my world, when I joined the Marine Corps, I'm doing all small unit tactic shit, meaning the battalion's dropping us off somewhere and we're staying out there for 4 days. You fight and die with what's on your back. That's how it worked. And if that wasn't your military experience, well, wasn't your military experience. Okay, so you stayed in the barracks the whole time and played fucking Call of Duty. That was your military experience, but that was not my military experience. So you can fuck off.
All you guys thinking that you're going to fight on the homeland, that's how it's going to be. You're not going to just fucking.
Well, I'm not. It's not that.
But. You know, if the Russians, for all the dudes that think that they're going to be fighting in the United States, that's how it's going to be. You're going to be hunted, you're going to be wanted, and people that you feel like you can trust, they're going to give you up. Once you on the run, like you have what you have. That's all you're going to have.
I mean, I don't know. You have to remember, I'm from the generation we thought that the Russians were coming. I still think the Russians are coming, even though there's no chance the Russians are going to come.
I'll bet half these guys commenting on that shit have never carried a can. What are you talking about? We have camelbacks.
That's true. It's actually been a long time since the military.
No, there's still canteens in the system.
I know
we've got dudes right now asking for fucking canteen covers again.
I know there's still canteens in the system. But I'm trying to think that,
dude, I don't know.
When we got the new body armor, I don't think they. Oh, you know what?
Yeah,
I'm wrong. I'm right.
Yeah, that canteen was a utility pocket also.
7th Marine. No, I was just in my head. I just couldn't remember canteens, and I forgot that when I got to 1-7, the SOP, and I understand the SOP because it was 29 palms, and you were more likely to get killed because you didn't have any water than by Russian paratroopers. So the SOP was you had to have them on the front of your flak jacket
so they could identify it.
So that when when the CO's walking, he knows everybody's got at least
saying
canteens.
Flak jacket. It wasn't an actual flak jacket. It's armor.
When I first got there, they were still wearing it was the OTV. So still the OTV, and I don't believe we even had plates when I got to 1-7. But then they quickly changed over to the that other thing that has changed 3 times, where it was. You know, when I went with Baker Company, we had full everything, fucking groin protectors, plates front and back, fucking throat protector.
The Israelis have a better canteen. It's like a square. It's rectangular. It's more like a Nalgene bottle, but square.
The problem with all the like aftermarket canteens. Like,
well, there's the Israeli one, at least from years ago that I had. The Israeli canteens were made just the same material as ours and everything. They were just they were square.
Right. But again, even the Israeli canteens, the problem with the Israeli, and maybe the Israelis are smart and we're just holding on to something that may never happen. But the reason why the green canteen was in the system for so long is because it was the only completely sealed water source that you could use with your gas mask. Now, they have a hookup now for camelbacks. I'm sure it's not even camelbacks anymore, but there was like this hookup thing where you could hook it up to your camelback. But usable, quick, you can't beat the canteen. With the NBC lid on it and hooking it up to your gas mask, you can't beat the canteen. So that's the problem with Nalgene bottles and shit like that. Now, are we gonna get nerve gassed in Mogadishu? Maybe not. But again, you can't use any of your pro equipment if you're using a. So
Black Hawk goes down. They fight through the night.
They fight.
Get back to the stadium the next day.
Yeah.
And then you guys.
Well, they fight all day, and then they get the close of business on that day, they make it back to the stadium.
Do the fighters, for the most part, go home in the evening? Or do they fight?
Yeah, so they had a pretty good – I don't want to say a schedule, but they ramp themselves up and get ready to go, and they fight.
Like Jeremy was saying that he had guys embedded with him, and when it was prayer time, even the dudes on his side would fucking stop and prayer and pull their rug out and shit.
That was the more Muslim your population is, the more what would you say? I don't want to say time constrained, but the more on time they are. So that was the same thing we had when we were at Camp Gannon. Is there would be mandatory there would be mandatory times that they would come and shoot at Gannon, and mandatory times when they would stop. It didn't matter what was going on. Like we could be in a full engagement. You'd be like boom, boom, boom. They're firing back at you, and then it was like it was dinner time, and they would all just go home. Like they literally would just be like, boom, boom. All right, bro, see you tomorrow, and they would just leave. And that was a regular occurrence. It was such a regular occurrence that if you went a day, if you were in Gannon if you were on your way to the chow hall, which was not, it was just an open area that we ate T-rats in, but if you were on your way there and there wasn't something going on, like there wasn't gunfire, the posts weren't shooting back and forth with somebody, you'd be like, something's wrong. Something bad's about to happen, because you're so used to that clockwork every day they would come. And that was the interesting thing about where we're at. Your experience may vary, guys. If you didn't get shot at, I'm sorry.
So you guys roll in 4 days from the Blackhawks going down. Yeah. What was your guys' mission? Why were you there?
So you have to understand that technically
the SEALs had immediately came in.
Technically, no, the SEALs weren't allowed in either until
I thought they got kicked out of there.
There was some stuff that happened. You have to understand that this was a humanitarian mission, right? The entire even with
all those guys, those ships, and all that food that was sent over there, none of that got to the hungry people.
Even the with Delta and the Rangers on the ground and 10th Mountain on the ground, they were basically they were technically there to support the UN in the UN accomplishing its mission, right? And it turned into a military operation, but very on the hush hush. So when the Black Hawk Down incident happened, it made Somalia front page news everywhere. Now, how are we as the United States of America in Somalia conducting a humanitarian mission, killing Somalis? It was a big deal for the Clinton administration. Like they had when you think about this, the Rangers and the Delta guys, they had those guys pulled out of Mogadishu before we got there. Like they were like, we want to make sure there's no retribution. We're getting these guys out of here. And they pulled them out.
Are they really worried about retribution?
Yeah. Clowns in high places like the White House are always worried about things that like
that base couldn't withhold the fucking...
No, they're not worried. They're not they're worried about U.S. forces going out and conducting retribution operations, which again, Delta operators are they're high functioning they're at a high functioning level of the military that it's not going to happen. And the Rangers are Marines in disguise, and they are going to follow orders. And if the captain tells them we're done, we're done. You know what I'm saying? They're not. It's not secret bands of Rangers roaming around the countryside.
They're going to hate that. What did you just say?
What?
You just said Rangers are Marines in disguise?
Yeah, they are Marines in disguise.
There's your next sound clip.
There are Marines in disguise. Rangers are...
Why do you say that? I thought they're kind of like stormtroopers.
No, they're not like stormtroopers. Rangers are...
Like the German kind, not the other kind.
Because a Ranger knows the definition of close with and destroy the enemy by fire and maneuver. A Ranger knows that. That's the Ranger's mission.
Fucking just shock troopers when you want something wrecked that's never going to be rebuilt.
Rangers know that. You can put them under canopy with minimal amount of equipment. When I say minimal amount of equipment, some of those guys jumped 350 pounds into fucking Panama. Minimal amount of equipment and be successful.
I remember when the Navy, well, even the Marine Corps was looking, they were setting up when everything was starting to jump tandem, right? So they could jump in interpreters and certain personnel, but they were jumping with 55-gallon drums full of loaded equipment.
Yeah. I mean,
fucking full of ammo and shit.
Like if you, when they had to do the reapproach on the airfield in Panama, they had to do combat jump, which means below minimum safe distance for a reserve parachute, which means the runway was blocked, which means they couldn't take the Jeeps in. So they literally, all the stuff that they had crammed on these Jeeps, extra guns, ammo, everything, they are now attaching to dudes that are going to do, I don't want to say the most unsafe, because it's, as long as your parachute opens, you're good. But what they call a hop and pop, meaning as soon as that parachute opens, you're going to hit the ground. And they're, again, if you're under canopy, now I know the parachutes, again, everybody's going to be like, oh my God, they don't do that anymore. I understand that the parachutes that they have now are much better.
Yeah, they're not even round anymore.
Are much better. But those old T10s, you were going towards the ground at 18 miles an hour.
And that was all static line?
Yeah, that's just dudes, that's just dudes with, 6 magazines. You're going at the ground at the ground at 18 miles an hour. Now you've got to strap you got to strap 800 fucking M60 rounds to you. You got to strap some canister that's you got all this other shit. So you're 3 times as heavy as what you're supposed to be. And they're like, out the door, Ranger. And I will say, like I said, Rangers are Marines in disguise, because Rangers get it. They understand. They get out there and they do the fucking mission. Like they are they're the long arm of the law for the Army. It's the reason why when Delta Force goes to kick in doors, they've got Rangers outside, because they know that the Rangers are going to be frothing at the bit to fucking get in the fight, and they're going to fight.
Not only that, they're going to fucking keep anything from coming up behind you.
That's it. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. They're ready. The Rangers are ready to fucking go toe to, If German Panzers came down the street, the Rangers are going to be smiling with their totally ineffective bazooka, and they're going to figure out a way to take those tanks out, because it's just
with their glue sticky trap. Yeah, speaking of tanks,
it's just Rangers.
Somebody reached out to me this week.
Somebody's got an M1 Abram?
No.
Oh damn!
But he does videos. The Fat Electrician. Have you heard of him?
I have not.
You have. I've sent you some videos of
Maybe.
him. When the Russians were training dogs to bomb Nazi tanks, and then they didn't realize that the dogs had actually keyed into the smell of their diesel. It wasn't the tank there was the smell, and then the Nazis were using gasoline tanks, right? So when the Russians launched these dogs with these levers and these bomb vests, they actually ran back and blew up their own tanks.
Yeah, they would come back.
Well, I saw that on his show. He did a show about the CIA or the OSS or whoever was taking rats and putting bombs inside these rats. They were like taxiderming these rats, and then putting them inside factories and stuff, thinking that the maintenance people in the factory would be worried about plague because it was embedded in them recently. So they'd put it in the boilers and blow up the boilers, right? So that was one of them. And then when the remember, I think it was in California when the whale washed ashore, and they're like, okay,
they blew up the whale?
Yeah, with 1,500 pounds of TNT, and it like was crushing cars a half mile. Yeah. Fat Electrician, check him out. He reached out and he's like, hey, some guys tagged me in one of your shorts. I'm the one that was saying it's not a war crime the first time. I'm like, right on, dude. I love your shit. I totally know who you are.
It's true.
So he's sending some shirts out for us.
Not a war crime the first time.
Yeah, it's not a war crime the first time. First time it's not a war crime. But he does great content. He's the dude. Remember I was telling you about how the United States Navy had these ice cream ships?
Yes.
That's where I heard it. I heard it on his channel. Ice cream ships. Just awesome. Great, dude's does great content. So
you'd just be amazed at how much money, resources, just money and resources and lives the military puts into getting ice cream
morale
to the front. Yeah. To get ice cream to the front. Like you'd just be amazed at how hard they try to get, if It's like Domino's Pizza in the middle of Afghanistan.
That a real thing?
Real thing. Burger King, real thing. Iraq, it's a real thing. When people talk about we're not ready to fight the Chinese or we're not ready to fight the Russians, they just don't understand the logistical geniuses that we have in our military force. If you're forward deployed, now again, obviously combat units that are out on the line are not getting pizza. But if you're at Al Assad Air Base and you want to get Domino's Pizza, you can get Domino's Pizza. That's forward deployed. It came from the United States. They logistically, now again, there's Bangladeshis in there cooking the stuff and whatever, but they have forward deployed that. That means all the bullets, all the planes, all the tanks, all that shit is already here. It's already so much here that we have space available. We have space available to bring you a Burger King, motherfuckers. It's coming. We're bringing you a Burger King. That's how powerful.
What company is it that brings all that shit in?
It's a subsidiary. I mean, it used to be Brown and Root.
Which was Bush's company.
Yeah, it's technically all the same company, but our logistical support is fucking awesome.
So you're saying that U.S. citizens don't need to worry about Russians?
I don't want to tell you not to worry about Russians, but what I'm telling you is, my generation in the 80s, the fear was parachutes, that the Russians were going to come and they were going to.
Do you think it's safe to say that?
And that's not going to happen.
Citizens in the United States' biggest fear is probably the United States government? The weaponization of the Department of Defense? I'm not worried about China.
Is it blowing up in their face? The question is this: Do the Republicans have the same fervor to go after the individuals that we know have committed crimes?
Tyranny. I would go with the word tyranny.
Well, people who have committed crimes within the United States. Do you think that
crimes have happened in the last? Let's just go 8 years. Have there been crimes within the United States in the last 8 years that politicians should be hung for?
Hung?
Yeah.
Is there anywhere we still hang people?
Should they be imprisoned?
I think you would have I don't know about politicians, but I think you would have a strong case. You would have a strong case for the current Secretary of Defense.
Who is that?
Is it Secretary of Defense or Department?
Are you aware?
Miley.
Are you aware?
I'm sorry if I gave you a different position. I don't think you're Secretary of Defense.
So are you aware of the report that came out yesterday?
I'm aware of it.
About
yes. About
Biden
all the collusion
being there, Obama being there, when Hillary fucking Clinton said,
100%.
"Hey, we're doing this."
But here's the thing, this is where Democrats rule and Republicans drool. Okay, this is a.
If I get elected, you'll be in prison. Well, she wasn't.
What I'm saying is this is where Democrats rule and fucking Republicans drool. 100% is Democrats are willing to push the edge of the envelope. They're willing to push the edge of the envelope so far that they will go over the edge.
No, I think that
Republicans
I think it's
won't do
even
it.
beyond that. I think it's so far beyond that. That's just what they got caught for.
What I'm saying, John, is everything that they did from the time that the administration was informed that Hillary Clinton was going to do a hit piece, okay? Everything that they did all the way through colluding with all the news media outlets, everything they did was illegal, okay? Was illegal there's a lot of different ways it was illegal, but everything they did was illegal, okay? If you are not taken to the mat for it, meaning if the Republicans do not charge and put people in jail.
Who would put them in jail?
But again, if they do not charge and put people in jail, then they didn't commit a crime.
Right. And the Republicans tell who to put them in jail. Who's the enforcement? The enforcement is owned by the Democrats.
Here's the thing about when you say that, the enforcement is owned by the Democrats. The reason why all of this is going on, is because the Republicans are allowing it to happen, okay? If the Republicans stood up and said, FBI, DOJ, we know that that they committed that Hunter Biden's laptop. We know the crimes He committed.
Have you seen the?
You need to fucking follow up on this. And wait though, and the DOJ says no, we're not going to prosecute Hunter Biden. Then it's up to Congress to get those motherfuckers fired.
But Congress has no.
I know
enforcement on it.
They don't have an enforcement.
I gotta pee.
All right.
What were you saying?
I was just saying that again.
They're all corrupt, man. I think that the powers that be have something on most of them. The enforcement, even if Congress is like, okay, FBI, you're all shut down. The FBI still has guns and all that shit. They've got all the equipment.
Again,
they're infiltrated.
The Congress can do the same thing. The Republicans can do the same thing that the Democrats threatened to do. All they have to do is defund the FBI. That's all they have to do. All they have to do is defund the FBI. And
some would say that there is a separate entity inside the FBI and outside the FBI, right? When you see all the funding going to IRS, for instance, right? Or Department of Transportation is another. What's Buttigieg in charge of?
Department of Transportation.
Right. So they have their own standing army, people. I don't think people realize the budget that's gone over there, the equipment that's gone over there, the military equipment.
They all have
the billions of rounds of ammunition. And a lot, the speculation or the theory or conspiracy theory is that is the military that is standing aside from the military we know, right?
They all have security elements within their purview, meaning, for example, like Department of Education has a bunch of shotguns and
right.
They all have this stuff. Okay. Right. They all have this stuff, but this stuff is it's like cheese in a cave. Department of Education has all these shotguns. Is anybody training to use these shotguns? No.
Where are the Department of Education shotguns?
I don't know where they're at. That's the thing. It's like cheese in a cave.
So that's why I believe that, yes, while that was put under that budget, nobody knows where that is. Nobody knows what people are attached to that equipment. There is a standing military separate from our military.
The issue, equipment-wise, you could say that, let's say, we'll just hypothetically speaking, let's say that that some entity within the federal government has decided that they want an army that is large or just big. Let's just say we want a big army that doesn't have to report to Department of Defense, and we're going to keep it under fucking Department of Transportation. Let's say we want to have this, okay? It would have to be immense, because people don't really grasp how big the United States is. Like, we don't really we live in our own little worlds, and we don't realize how big the United States is and how many, when you're talking about troops on the streets, how many troops that would actually be. Okay, so it'd have to be huge. And if you have a huge standing army that's not the army, next question would be, where are they training? What kind of training are they getting? Small units you could do. Like, if, for example, let's say we did.
Clinton flew all those dudes into Arkansas and trained them all up.
Let's say you're head of Department of Education and you want a paramilitary organization of I don't know, let's say you want 500 guys that are fucking trained to Delta standards. Let's just say that. You might, and again, I'm saying might, you might be able to keep that a secret. You might be able to keep it a secret. The question is, who's training them, where they're training, and it would be very hard to keep that a secret. So you probably have resources, all these entities, like Department of Transportation. You have resources, but they're not issuing out flamethrowers to guys in Department of Transportation. And the reason why is because when you were on the far left, okay, when you were out there in the left sphere, you don't trust even your own people. They're not going to, it's just like the communists, right? We worry about the communists. Those guys train with 10 rounds a year. Or, when you think about Iraq, we were all worried about Iraq, but even the guys that were getting the training weren't getting very good training, because you, as a dictator, you don't want to train the people who are going to overthrow you. You don't want to give them all this ammo for the people that are going to overthrow you. The other thing is, just again, the United States, it would be very hard for you to train up a large group of people, meaning a group of people that would be useful. Because again, Department of Education, if you trained up 500 guys to, dev group standards, like you got 500 dudes that can jump, swim, do all that stuff, drive cars fast, shoot MP7s, it's still only 500 guys. It's not enough to be relevant. It's relevant if you're talking about defending the White House. It's relevant, but is it really relevant when you put 100,000 people on the outside that want to burn the place to the ground? It becomes irrelevant. It's like a pretty good example of that is you've got Delta, you've got Rangers, you've got MARSOC, you've got Special Forces, you got fucking, sorry if I left you out, whoever, Dev Group. You got these high speed, very well trained, very well equipped units that are going out there and getting it, right? When they get a specific mission, it's going to be very hard. If you become the specific mission of a tier 1 element, right? If the Eye of Sauron comes on you and you are the specific mission that a tier 1 element is coming to get, you're fucked. You are fucked. Unless something happens that is completely out of tier 1 control, like, I don't know, they're on an aircraft carrier to get to wherever you're at and the aircraft carrier sinks, the tier 1 guys are going to get you. They're going to get you. They're going to put you on a sky hook. They're going to suck you back to wherever, or they're going to dome you, because we are that well trained, that well equipped, that well supported. It's not, when Delta goes out, it's not just ninjas. It's not just ninjas. There's bookworms that are back there looking at the satellites and doing all the things that need to get done to make that a successful mission. But here's the thing. All of that special forces, all that elite tier 1 community, all of it together does not mean anything if you don't have a fucking Army specialist, a Marine Lance Corporal, an Air Force airman that is willing to stand out on the corner 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and police all the shit up that the special branches guys can't do, right? I'm not saying they can't do it, but they don't have the force structure necessary to do it. So in order for, the reality is, in order for Delta to go in and kick a door in and do their mission, it helps, again, it doesn't have to, but it helps that if they're in an environment where there is a bunch of other people around with guns that are standing on street corners and holding the day-to-day business down. It's much easier if you can conduct your operations, fly back to a fob that you don't have to guard. You don't have to, it's much easier to do that. Okay. So you have to have regular guys. You have to have Joes, you have to have the 82nd Airborne. I know you guys, you have to have fucking,
who do we got over here? 101st?
101st. You got to have those guys who are going to be out there every day sitting on a fucking corner or driving a damn MRAP around, or those guys that are out there every day creating the minor difficulties for the bad guys. It's like when we were in Los Angeles. When the Marine Corps went into Los Angeles and we stood on every single street corner. Not every street corner, sorry. There was Army guys there too. But when we were on those street corners, it freed up the police to do the jobs that they wanted to do. So now, all high-risk warrants, they were going and grabbing those guys. They were clearing the books. One of the LAPD guys said they had 9,000 guys that were high-risk warrants, and they cleared the books in a week because we were there. That's because they weren't doing other bullshit. It's because they weren't doing other bullshit. They didn't have to because the military was there. That's the same thing with the ninjas. The ninjas need that support element, those guys out there on the street corner, in real warfare. Now, if we're talking about, going into a country, pulling out some hostages and then coming home, that's different. But if you're talking about taking the country of, whatchamacallit, you have to have regular infantry guys. And that's the thing that's here in America. So I don't care what the federal government does. I really don't. Because when you're talking about secret armies or regular armies, they don't have the bodies. They don't have the bodies to put people on every street corner. in order for them to do what the conspiracy people think them to do, it's going to take a lot more than bodies. It's going to take a lot of things to happen in order for them to be able to control the masses.
How would you do it?
How would I do it? I would do it just exactly the way they're trying to do it. I would create a digital currency. And in creating a digital currency, I would create an incentive to use that digital currency. Meaning if you take your dollar bill and you turn it into a digital currency dollar bill, I'll give you 2.
Yep.
So it becomes worthwhile.
Yep.
I will give you special privileges with that digital currency that you can't get with a dollar bill. I would create a system where you will embrace the digital currency, where you will be like, nothing bad's going to happen, digital currency. We're going to go for it. And then when I got enough people on digital currency, I'm going to shut cash down. I'm going to be like, hey, guess what? Your greenbacks don't work anymore. Just like they did with gold. Your greenbacks don't work anymore. You got to use digital currency. Yeah, there's going to be people on the fringes that are going to, trade chickens and maybe even still create a more valuable fiat currency than the dollar to stay out of the digital currency. But it allows me to squeeze that market closer and closer to what I want. And what I want is complete control, because now through digital currency, I can identify all your purchases and I can decide what you can do and what you can't do. Plain and simple. You want to fly to California to help your friend move to another state? Sorry, you don't have enough credits in order to do that.
They're doing it all around the world.
I know they are. They're doing it all around the world because it's all about control. It's all about control. So
I don't think people realize that this is actually happening already over in
and
Europe.
if let's say if you're one of the, millions of people like myself who've bought a firearm in the last 5 years at a reputable gun store, not out of the back of a fucking pickup truck.
I thought you were going to say 5 days.
Well,
20 minutes.
I'm sweating. It's almost time to go buy another one. If you're somebody who's bought a firearm from a reputable gun store in the last 5 years, you're on a list. They know the gun you bought. They know you purchased it. And if it wasn't your credit card company that turned you in, it was the ATF guys going in there and taking pictures of the draw sheets. You're on a list. And so all I have to do is create an outrage, right? So let's create an assault weapons outrage when it's only 1% of the homicides in the United States. If you're really concerned about homicide, you would be talking about Glock pistols, not AR-15s, but you're not concerned about
more people shot in the last 12 months in Chicago than we lost in the entirety of Afghanistan.
Yeah, it's common, but we don't want to address the real issue. What we want to do is we want to create an emergency. Okay, so we'll create an emergency. I know you have assault rifles, or I know you have guns. All I have to do is turn your fucking bank account off. I mean, I said this 10 years ago. All they have to do is turn your life off. Your internet, your power. I mean, how many people, just think about this. How many people would give up their own family members for fucking internet? They're out there. They're commenting on the fucking...
You saw them do it in Germany.
They're commenting on the blogosphere right now.
Yeah.
Oh, I would never do it. Yeah, you did. You were turning people in because they weren't wearing masks.
Just doing
so
my
you'll
job.
do it.
Yeah.
You'll do it. Even though, again...
Had to feed my kids.
All a hoax. So all they have to do is turn your life off. They turn your life off, you're going to show up with that gun in hand, and you're going to hand it right over to them and be like, please, please, give me my credits back. That's all they have to do, and that's what they're going for. It's the reason why they keep harping on white supremacy, because when you think about it, white males of military age are really the biggest problem for federal government overreach, not white supremacy. You know how many people were killed in a hate crime, a white supremacy hate crime last year? 25. You know how many people were killed how many black people were killed last year? 26,000.
Not by white people.
No. Well, I mean, again, 25 hate crimes.
Where'd you get 25 hate crimes?
That's from the Poverty Law Center. And those
wow.
those are
they're
people
wackos as
those,
it
but
is.
those are people actually looking for it.
Yeah.
Okay, they're looking for it.
But most of those are going to be a white dude had a vehicle accident
What?
with a person.
Let's wait a minute.
Race.
I don't want. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Are there Nazis in the United States? Yeah, there are people who pretend to be Nazis. There are people out there that are LARPing Nazis. Are there white supremacists running around? Yes, there are people out there who are running around thinking that they are the best thing on the face of the planet and white is right and everybody else is wrong. There are those people in the United States, but they are such a minority that the federal government has to make things up in order for it to even exist. They have to make it up.
Are we talking about just a couple days ago?
What the feds that
Pretended to be what
that marched down into
boys?
the feds that marched down into the subway protected by the police,
and they pretend arrested them but left all their masks on so you couldn't see the photos of them.
That was the first time. This time the police stopped anyone from going in the subway and going down. There's actually another interesting video of one of those guys that was at this Just Reese rally who has his mask off, and a bystander comes over and he's like, dude, I recognize you. You're a cop. And he's like, I know you recognize me. You better keep your fucking mouth shut. He had to take his phone and put it down here. They have to make it up. I mean, the reality is if this was any other time, they would let people follow them down the escalators. They would let people interact with them, but they didn't. You know why? Because they were all cops.
It's the same shit when
I mean,
in Germany. I mean, they burnt they bombed their own building.
Maybe they weren't. I take that back. I'm sorry, law enforcement. I know that there's a million. There's literally a million of you guys out there who are working hard, doing a good job, and just trying to take care of your family. They probably weren't. I know we keep saying feds, but the Democrats are notorious for outside contracting, so they're probably they're probably all from the education department or from fucking transportation or some shit like that.
So the border issue, right? They're bringing all these people in through the border.
Mm-hmm.
They just caught a fucking high value target or one of the on the terrorist watch list, right? They caught an Iraqi dude coming in the United States a week or so ago, got busted out by a Border Patrol dude, told some other guys, as well as it got to Mike Glover. So that went out in public. There's just fucking millions of them coming across apparently. And they're putting them on buses. They're bringing, for instance, I'd heard Andy Frisella, I don't know if you watched it. I sent you the video and said, hey, watch the last half of this video. On fire. There's a lot of dudes doing videos that are very close to James's Pack Your Bags video.
Yeah, I mean...
So what Frisella was talking about is, I think it was Chicago.
They're
going to bring into a predominantly black neighborhood. Mm-hmm. They're going to bring 2,500, let's call them Mexicans. I don't think they're actually from Mexico.
They're from all over the world.
So they're going to bring 2,500 of these people in here and dilute the population. And the black folks are like, we're not getting any assistance that we need. Like, all of our shit is all fucked up, and you're going to bring these people in here. And what's going to happen with them? Who's taking care of these people? Like, put them on your fucking couch, not my couch. So they go to protest. I want to say it's Chicago. It's the new mayor or the new governor.
I think it is Chicago.
Right? So they go to give them a peace of mind, and they have fucking cordoned off, and they couldn't get to the press conference because they had rerouted them all away. There was not a way for people to get there in vehicles.
Of course.
It's just it's fucking wild, the shit that is going on currently.
Well, I mean, okay. The border thing is interesting. It's interesting in this. Does Border Patrol apprehend characters of a bad nature a lot? Meaning, when you say Iran terrorist or MS-13 guy coming out of Guatemala or whatever, they do find these guys and they do arrest them. Again, I would say 95%, and that's probably a low number. 95% of the people that are coming across that border are people that are coming from all over the world that are living in terrible conditions, and they watch YouTube and they watch TikTok and they watch American movies, and they understand what a great country this is, and what a land of opportunities
Right,
this is.
Ellis Island kind of shit.
And they are coming here to be part of America. Okay. Now, our fault, our problem is we don't assimilate them as Americans. Our fault is we take them to, I don't know, Minnesota.
El Cajon.
Or El Cajon. We take them all to a specific location. We drop them off, and we let them rebuild the community that they left, instead of assimilating them to be Americans. Is what technically what they really want is to be Americans. They want the same opportunities everybody else gets here. So we do a terrible job of assimilating them into the country.
That's what Frisella says. He's like, assimilate. You have to come here and be part of the United States.
But you can't. Right? Here's the thing, and this is, this may be pretty liberal of me, but you can't have a guy come from, I'll say, the Senegal or even China. You can't have a guy make a journey all the way here to America, and then he gets to the border, and we go like this: hey, here's your court appointed date to come see if you're going to be given citizenship or seek asylum. Here's your court appointed date, and then put them in the wild, because contrary to popular leftist belief, we are tribal. We are all tribal. So the Chinese are going to seek out other Chinese. The Mexicans are going to seek out other Mexicans. I don't want to say the Kenyans, because they just
right.
work.
They're welcome in your neighborhood. They're not welcome in Martha's Vineyard, and that's
of course.
Like
come on,
we're
not welcome in Martha's Vineyard.
Right. When I said El Cajon, for instance, right, they took a whole several city blocks of El Cajon that was. It was abandoned, for the most part, run down, right, and put all of the Iraqis, right? Was that who was there?
Yeah, they're Chaldeans, which are Iraqi Christians,
and even the road signs, the store frontage sign, all in their language.
Again, though, because we as Americans, or I will say this, the federal government does not do its due diligence in assimilating people who come to this country,
because they don't. They want the strife and the turmoil. They want us to fight amongst ourselves and amongst them. They are simply letting them in for the vote, or even to cause unrest amongst ourselves.
I mean, you could say that is what they're doing. But what I will say, which I'm sure I'm going to get a million comments about, what I will say is, I doubt that's the issue. I mean, I believe that Democrats think that if anybody comes south of the border, that they're going to vote for Democrats, that's a Democrat vote. But the problem is the Democrats have gone so far left that vote that they're counting on is they're probably not getting that vote anymore, because they have alienated the church so much, right? If you're coming from south of the border, you're probably highly Catholic. If you're coming from Ethiopia, there's a good chance you're going to be a Christian, because you're persecuted. Remember, these are persecuted people that are coming here. So I don't think the vote thing matters anymore, that they're not really getting those votes.
I saw a map. I don't remember who put it. I think it was Jack Posobiec had put it out, but it showed that the majority of people who are brought into the United States are actually nested in Republican areas.
Yeah, well, they do that on purpose.
To dilute the vote.
Yeah, because they believe that it's going to dilute the vote. But I would say it's, instead of saying that it's nefarious, that the government is nefarious in this thing, I would point out that there's not a single program, not the welfare program, homeless program, no program that the federal government dumps millions and millions of dollars in that they are good at. They are always terrible at it. It's just an afterthought when Congress acts and says we're gonna end hunger in the United States. All they do is write a check. They don't call and see if anybody's hungry.
That's what I was saying earlier.
They're fucking useless.
Do you guys remember that? What was it? Hands Across America, where Michael Jackson and everybody did the song and raised billions of dollars, and they took all this, they got all this food together and all these goods, and they put them on these ships, and then they sent them over. Do you know that none of that went ashore? It literally sat on the ship and just fucking rotted. None of that was ever dispersed. So you feel better about yourself rather than doing something immediately in your community that you can see and actually put sweat equity in on a weekend, for instance, and help build somebody's home or something.
You can't blame them. You can't blame the music industry for doing that.
No, I'm not talking about the music industry. I'm talking about people. They want to. Here's $100, right? Yeah. But you have no idea where that goes. You feel good about it. You use it as a tax write-off, and then you go to church and tell people that you did it.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you can't. For that particular incident, you have a bunch of people again.
Well, I was thinking like Mogadishu, for instance.
It has to do with America, right?
Ethiopia.
Because we all live in America, we have certain ideas about how the rest of the world runs, and we think that if we import Americanism, that it's going to be that. Why wouldn't you want a McDonald's on every corner? Or why wouldn't you want? We think that if we just show up and give people money, that suddenly they're going to turn into America, and that's not how it works anywhere. And that the problem with the Somalia when they did the Live Aid was they didn't know. They knew that they could raise the money. They knew they could buy the food, but they didn't have any, let's say, bona fide from the end user. Meaning, when that food got to Somalia, they had not greased the skids with the government there, and so because we don't understand that food is power in Africa and that they use food as a weapon, we assumed that they would just feed people. But the reason why people weren't getting fed is because the government was using it as a weapon. The people who were, let's say, the people who were close to the government were getting fed. Again, I didn't see,
It's like the oligarchs.
When I went to Mogadishu, I didn't see any hungry people. I didn't see in Mogadishu there was nobody that was starving. Everybody in Mogadishu was wearing Nikes, collared T-shirts. Now the women were wearing traditional dress, but
you think those are real Nikes?
No. They're probably Nikes from Russia or some shit like that, or maybe real Nikes, because that's the other thing that most people don't understand is
that shit's all made over there.
Well, not just that. It's Africa is the dumping grounds for all failed products. So when the Chiefs don't win the Super Bowl, the shirts are already printed. You can go to Africa and get a Dallas Cowboy won the fucking 2011, not really a Dallas Cowboy, but whatever those two teams are, the losing team, all their hats and jerseys go to Africa. They don't throw them in an incinerator. They bag them up, send them over there. So much so that there's actually a pretty good, I think Vice did it maybe.
Who is out of business?
Yeah, well, this was back when they were
real.
They did real reporting. I think Vice did a story about how Africans are sick and tired of all the clothes that we keep sending them.
So, didn't the UN at one point actually arm a bunch of the Somalis?
Yes.
And what happened then?
It didn't work.
Yeah, what happened?
It didn't work. So, well, that was the problem. So this was well after Live Aid. This is 10 years after Live Aid, maybe, when Somalia happened. When we actually went into Somalia with troops. So, because it became
why were we fucking around in Somalia to begin with?
100%. It was humanitarian aid.
Okay.
The UN went into Somalia because the same thing was happening. You had all these people out in the hinterlands were starving. Okay, so all these people out in the desert were starving to death. It was really happening, but again, a failed Somali government, a countryside that was run by militias. They were using food as a weapon. Food was a way to get people to follow you. So what the UN was doing when they first got there was they were giving people food. They were giving them bags of rice, like 20-pound bags of rice or some shit like that. They were giving them food. They were just the UN and all the UNICEF and all those other organizations. They were all there, and they were giving food. Well, the militias would go, and the UN would go. And the militias would show up and they'd be like, give me the food. And they would give the food. And then the UN, the UN person would go out there and be like, why is everybody still starving to death? And they'd be like, because you drop the food off and the militias come take the food. And so the UN was like, okay. Hey, America, we need your help. And so Clinton's Clinton's idea for humanitarian was to send fucking Rangers, Delta Force, 10th Mountain, and I'm sure when 10th Mountain first got there, they were doing like probably
medical and shit.
Some humanitarian, like they were doing humanitarian shit. I'm sure the Rangers weren't handing out candy though, but it still was happening. Now we don't have the guys were obviously there was a general there that was in charge of the Delta guys and the Rangers, but technically we were under a UN flag, so he couldn't just be like, hey, we're gonna go fuck these guys up. It had to come from Boutros Ghali, who was the UN secretary at the time.
Where is he now?
Oh, I don't even know if he's still alive, Boutros Ghali. He probably is still alive, but he's probably pretty old. And so the UN's idea was, hey, you know what we're going to do? We'll give everybody guns. And then when the bad guys come to take the rice, they won't be able to take the rice because you'll have a gun. And so they went around town and gave all these people AKs. They're giving them AKs. And, a week later, they're like, how come you got no rice? And where's your AK? Well, because the guys with more guns came and they took the gun and the fucking rice. And that's when there were some other things that happened. Some Pakistanis, 24 Pakistanis got massacred by some of the rebels. There were some other things that were happening. And that's when the UN finally was like, okay, Delta, this is what we need you to do. We need you to get some of these. We need you to go snatch some of these commanders. We need to enforce our will so we can feed these people. And that's what they were doing. And the reality is they were hitting dry holes. And the reason why they were hitting dry holes is because in order for the Delta guys, in order for, Task Force Kick-Ass, I'm sure that wasn't the name, but it's probably pretty close. Task Force Kick-Ass to go out and do the things that they needed to do, they had to tell everybody. So they had to brief the UN. Now, the UN is a porous conglomerate of all kinds of entities, some friendly, some not. And so they were getting dry holes because people in the UN were telling the bad guys, hey, they're coming. They kind of allude a little bit in the movie, but they also do the whole, they're watching the airfield and they see the helicopters. Helicopters taking off does not tell you where they're going, right? And that's why they were getting dry holes. So when Black Hawk Down, when that incident happened, everybody didn't get briefed. So people are intentionally left out of the loop that Army intel, or, the general in charge over there, believed were the ones telling the Somalis when they were coming. And because of that, there was a lot of resentment when the shit went down. So like when it went down, helicopter got shut down and shit was going bad, there was a lot of people in the camp that were like, well, fuck, we didn't even know you guys were going out. Right. So I don't know if he was 10th Mountain. I'm sure all you armchair ninjas out there with your comments will let me know.
The COD guys.
Yeah, the COD guys. I'm sure reinforced COD will let me know. I don't remember if it was a 10th Mountain guy or if it was one of the Ranger Battalion guys.
Is it COD or COD?
It's COD, but
got it.
Even pulled a fucking pistol on the, I believe it was the Pakistanis. It may have been Malaysia. I don't think it was the Malaysians because the Malaysians were pretty good. I believe because I think the Pakistanis were the only ones that had tanks, and he had to pull a pistol to get those guys to fucking leave. And they were booty busted because they didn't know they were supposed to go do anything. And the tanks they had sucked. And so the minute, again, you had 10th Mountain go down and get hit, right? 10th Mountain gets hit at K4 Circle, and then the Pakistanis go, and they get to K4 Circle, and they get fucked up too, because, again, they have tanks from the 30s. Their tanks have big wind-ups on the back. I know they didn't, guys. You don't have to make the comment. Jesus, you guys are so pathetic.
That's how they adjust their gun.
Yeah. And so it was a mess. It was a mess. But I mean, again, you have to look at it from a perspective of the Rangers. They did their job. They fought all the way through, even when the guys were separated. I mean, think about that with you know, when you're talking about, oh, I only need 3 mags on my body armor. Even the Rangers that got separated from the main effort and had to fight their way by themselves, 2 of them back to I'm sure they were glad they had all the ammo they had. Those guys all should be commended for what they did, because they were, again, there was no one that was getting on those helicopters that day to go do this that thought any of that shit was going to happen. And so they fucking kicked ass, right? They kicked ass. When you think about how many Somalis were killed versus how many of our forces were killed, it was a seriously one-way battle. And, you know, you could say there was a point, you could almost say that at a point that the Rangers, when they had to hold up overnight, that they technically were kind of outgunned. But due to America's superior technology and miniguns, they were able to hold that position and get those guys out. So, I mean, hats off to them. You know, I think the UN officially posted. I think the UN, after it happened, they officially posted 800 Somalis were killed.
But they were pulling all kinds of shit because we were paying them motherfuckers that got killed, right?
Well, no. What I'm saying is on that day.
Got it.
On that day. On that day, not
so
not the guys.
We weren't paying dead families for dead members.
The UN would pay Somalis if they were shot by UN forces, if they were, you know, if they were wounded. And then we were paying them a lot for camels. So they would hide in the alleys with their camel. And when a convoy was speeding through, they would literally run out in front of the convoy to get their camel hit.
Did you ever see that happen?
Twice.
You saw,
yeah. Camel.
So you're just cruising along, and here comes a fucking camel.
That's what we couldn't. I mean, you know.
Hold on, I gotta hear this. I gotta pee first.
Okay, pee.
You can't do a COD to the UPS. You can't write an IOU to the UPS for a COD. They'll call the FBI. You know what that's from?
I do not.
It's from Three's Company.
Oh, Three's Company.
Wasn't he supposed to be gay? But he was banging all the chicks. Come and knock on my door.
Well, he wasn't gay. He was pretending to be gay so he could live in an apartment with 2 young ladies.
And he's like, "Let me see your back door."
But I don't think he ever got with the girls. Like, he was a ladies' man. Like, he would go and get ladies. He would get the ladies.
But he didn't want them ones.
I don't think he ever did. Maybe Sissy.
What about Chenille, Schnabel, Hop and Top Incorporate? What was that one?
Laverne and Shirley.
Yeah, were they lesbians?
No, come on.
They weren't?
No.
Golden Girls.
They were.
They all sucked souls out of it. That's why
you just never saw the cats that they had. They were just spinsters.
Crazy cats, spinsters.
They were just spinsters. Yeah, I'm sure all the COD warriors will be able to tell me if Jack ever got with any of the girls. I maybe Sissy, but I don't think so. I don't think so.
Take a deep breath.
Take a deep breath. I'm about to tell you something that all the COD warriors are going to be like, that never happened.
Okay, paint the picture before.
Beautiful. Just beautiful.
Paint a picture for me. We're rolling down. There's palm trees. Are there palm trees?
I mean, there were some palm trees.
They're probably dead. When it used to be like the French Riviera. Motherfuckers went there to vacation.
You could squint. So we were the position that we were on most of the time was K7. Did I say K7 circle or K4 circle? K4 was the circle. K7 was the tallest building in downtown Mogadishu, right across from the embassy. 8 stories. It used to be a Hilton or some shit, and then the Pakistanis took it over, and that's where our post was.
No, you're there as a sniper team.
Sniper team.
How many guys?
2.
Okay.
Just 2.
Just you and one other person?
Yeah, just me and Super Marine.
Okay. So
just me and Super Marine.
Give me the camel story. Okay,
so we were kind of there at a great time. If you squinted your eyes, like from K7, if you looked out over the vastness of the city of Mogadishu and you squinted your eyes real hard, it's a beautiful city.
Did you have to shoot your gun?
Did I have to? Here's the thing. As a scout sniper, if you're doing your job right, you never have to shoot your gun.
Okay. I was expecting you to be like, no, I got to shoot my gun.
Well, I mean, I did. That was the first time I got to shoot. That was the first time I got to shoot my gun. I gots to.
At a real person?
Are they? Yes. At a
Oh,
real
those
person.
are you going to say, are those people? Is that what you were going to say that, weren't
Do they
you?
count?
Are those people?
Do they count when they're the enemy of your country? Do they count?
You didn't like...
Okay, so
You didn't get, prior to that, you didn't get snatched up and like you woke up in a room with a bunch of dudes and then the room started flooding and you had to figure out a way to get out of the room while the room was flooded, and then they put you in a special program and they gave you
part of the
special juice and you got special powers, and then you went and did a bunch of hits
was,
for the government prior to this?
There was no special juice, and it's part of the reason why the Marine Corps is getting rid of scout snipers, because it's so hard to maintain that watertight tank. It's just hard.
You know
it's
what movie I'm talking about,
yes,
right?
I know exactly.
I love those movies.
It's hard to maintain.
I can't
that
believe
watertight tank.
in the last one, I can't believe they killed off his kid.
So Mogadishu, you know, again, it's a beautiful town. Obviously, it's gone through a lot of problems, so none of the buildings have roofs. But if you look out over Mogadishu, you know, there's these.
That's a common theme a lot of places you've been. There's no fucking roofs. Well, we bombed them all?
No. It's because there's rebar in the roofs. And so the Somalis...
Yeah, but I'm talking like Iraq was fucked up because we fucked Iraq up.
Well, Somali, it's different. It's the rebar that's in the roof. They smash out the roofs, pull the... Well, they're not stealing it because the reality is the town's abandoned. They take the rebar out, and then China shows up with ships. That's right, I said China.
Hold on, let me pause real quick. I wanted to say this earlier. No. Speaking of China.
Yeah.
China just canceled a bunch of contracts for corn to the United States. They just canceled a ton of fucking orders they had, and they have showed up all of a sudden. There's a ton of wheat at a very low price that's coming into China, and that's what they're using to feed their hogs with instead of our corn. They're using wheat, and the speculation is that the wheat has come from all of the silos that Russia has taken from Ukraine, and they're selling it to China.
It's quite possible, or maybe China just doesn't like Monsanto corn.
Maybe.
Oh God, stop it, Cod! I know you're out there. I know you love your Monsanto. Anyways.
Is there a video game where the end of the world has happened because of Monsanto? I'll bet there is. Okay,
sure.
Okay.
Anyway.
Camel story.
Yeah, we'll get to Camel story, and then they scrap the rebar. Chinese ships show up. They sell it to the Chinese, and then that's why there's no roofs in Mogadishu. But beautiful town.
Here's something
Streets.
else you might not know about China, right? We log all these trees. They put them on ships. They go out into international water. China turns them into lumber, dumps all the waste or whatever into the water, and then comes back and sells them back to us. And it was made in international water, so they don't have to abide by United States regulations and laws. They do that with fish
I believe
and
they
pigs
do it with
and
chicken
stuff.
too.
I think so. Yeah, there's these major ships.
Yeah.
People don't realize that happen. Your IKEA furniture, a lot of that is actually made on ship also, and then brought back in ashore.
I mean, I guess that would be cheaper than bringing it from where's IKEA, Norway or Sweden?
Sweden.
Swedes.
You can
cheaper.
always go to an IKEA store, and they have thin pancakes, and they have Swedish meatballs. They have a pretty good cafe. I'm always worried there's going to be like a terrorist there.
Is there IKEA in Nashville?
Memphis,
Memphis,
of all places.
Memphis,
Huh?
Atlanta.
Yeah,
I believe
yeah.
Atlanta.
There's a
Atlanta's moving
there's
on
a IKEA kiosk where you can go and look at some pictures and order some shit in Nashville.
Okay.
Why? You need some IKEA stuff?
No. I haven't been to an IKEA since San Diego. Where was that?
I only went there.
Where
Like
was
they had
that?
good Christmas decorations and like.
It wasn't in San Diego. It was like
picture
Mission
frames.
Valley, right?
It was in Mission Valley,
Mission
right by
Valley,
a weird place to have a fucking library right
Mission
there.
Valley, yeah.
Yeah, they have good Halloween stuff and shit. I'd like to go. We used to go there and eat at the buffet at the cafe there.
Yeah.
But I still feel like there's a terrorist there.
Have you seen the advertisement for that? I think he's a Swede commando fighting the Germans.
No.
Oh God, they had to.
It's an IKEA fucking commercial?
No. It's not an IKEA commercial. It's a movie that's coming out. It's about Sorry again. If
There's a couple of good movies coming out.
It's a Swedish commando who finds some gold. He's a commando. and decides I'm not doing that anymore and finds some gold. So he fights
So
the
it becomes
Russians.
like Batman,
Or maybe it's Finland.
like Tomb Raider.
But he fights some Russians and is like a badass, and then gets out and goes and he finds this gold. And so he's a prospector. And he bumps into Germans. And the Germans are like, oh shit, this guy's got some gold. And it's just like a
Nazi gold, or like he's actually a miner.
A miner. But it's like a Norwegian. Again, I'm probably saying Norwegian. I think
are we
Swedish
pre-World War II? Or?
This is during World War II.
Okay.
But it's classic Tarantino slasher film. Like this guy throws a landmine at one of the Germans and hits him right on the helmet. It looks pretty
so it's like Bear Jew.
Yeah, this guy he's out there. So this is the John Wick of
Do you watch any
somewhere in the Nordic
Do you watch
countries.
any Amazon shows?
No.
There's a TV show on Amazon. I cannot remember the name of it. But basically, the theory of this is that there's these guys it's this military unit. They've all the military recruits from small towns, basically like football teams, because they work as a cohesive unit. And they have given them something in the military to where you guys can share thoughts, right? So if I'm sitting here and I point here, my sniper on the hill automatically fires.
Sees it?
And can read my thoughts. So, are you looking it up?
Sisu.
That's it. Yeah, Sisu.
What's the Amazon TV show I'm talking about? Carrot or a stick? Look up carrot or the stick. So this guy's living in a trailer in a house, and his mom lives in the house. He lives in the trailer. War vet, and he's playing video games. So all of a sudden, he's ranking really high in these video games that he's playing. So this company, some research company, sends him this pair of goggles, right? Well, he can't get past this level, so his sister puts him on, and she's just like, awesome, right? Well, what it turns out is they are actually controlling a robot version of themselves 50 years in the future, and France has been like taken over. And
oh, that's crazy.
Dude, it's fucking wild. Like, I don't watch any fucking shows. And I played this in a period of like 2-3 days, played the whole season just while I was working and sewing.
Is it the carrot or the stick?
Yeah. What's the TV show?
That's what it's called.
Yeah, but it's from a show.
Oh.
Anyways, this dude's like, you gotta watch it. That's not what we're talking about. Go ahead,
Yeah.
Camel.
Oh, we're back in Mogadishu. There I am. It's sunny. It's 73 degrees. Beautiful. Light clouds.
Could you get Domino's?
We could not. Wait a minute.
I opened.
No, I think it wasn't Domino's. It was something else.
I opened the like cafeteria, high school square pizza. I opened the dumpster the other day, and there was a fucking Little Caesars box in there.
Where's Little Caesars around here?
Who the fuck put it in my dumpster? I don't know.
That'd have been one of your employees.
Yeah, why is my employees bringing a fucking pizza box to work to throw away, though?
Maybe that was their lunch. Maybe they had a slice of pizza.
Maybe that's what it was.
Slice of pizza.
Maybe.
Mogadishu. Again, UN controlled. We were under the UN flag. When we got there, we immediately, because again, we're Marines. Your experience may vary. When we got there, we immediately put a flagpole up on top of the embassy. We weren't in the embassy. We were embassy adjacent, and we put a flagpole up. No, we put a flagpole up on top of it with a Marine Corps flag.
I'd have put a pirate flag.
So we're flying.
Would you get in trouble for that?
We're flying. Within I don't know 8 hours.
How old were you?
God, I was 22 in Somalia.
So you put up a Marine Corps flag.
We put up a Marine Corps flag.
Who yells at you?
And we're just like, because it was our post. No one was allowed up on there but us. And they I can't remember. He was either I think he was.
Did he think it was funny? I think
he was a New Zealander.
Did he think it was funny?
I think. Oh yeah, he was like, hey, you guys got to need to take that flag down. And we're like, we're not taking it down. It's a Marine Corps post. This is
Did
Marine
he come
Corps.
up into your hide site and shit?
Yeah, he came up because they were right underneath us.
Okay,
like right underneath, and we're like, we're not taking it down. He's like, you got to take it down. It's an offense to everyone in this camp. And we're like, ho, we want to. We're young kids, and the Marine Corps is the only thing. And he's like, you can't fly. He goes, walk over here. And so he brings us over to the other side of the compound so you can see the compound. You can see all of the UN wherever. And there's every flag imaginable. There's, you name a place in the world where you thought they wouldn't be in Somalia, and they were there. Even, and don't hate on me, even the Irish Army was there, which I was like
the Irish Republican Army.
the Irish Army, not affiliated with the British Army, which I made the mistake of saying to this guy. Anyways, but everybody was there. Everybody's there, and he's like, "What do you notice about all those flags?" And we're like, "Everybody's got one. That's why we put one up."
Yours is higher than theirs.
You put your flag higher than everyone else's. You can't do that.
So he didn't care about the flag. It's just the height of
It's
the
just
flag.
the height of the flag. Well, everybody else. The other thing is everybody else's flags were like, they were like,
Right.
little
Walmart,
parade flags, just little parade flags that they had on their tents and shit. And we had a goddamn
What do you mean?
10x42 Garrison flag up there.
What do you mean you put up a flagpole? Like you put it on like a 119 mast, or you...
Yeah, we just took cami net poles.
Got it. Okay.
And put them all together and then ran the flag out.
Got it.
like it was Mount Suribachi. So that was small. Anyways, again, at the time this is happening, we don't know the answer to what's about to happen. Okay, so you can see from K7, you can see all the way down to K4 Circle, and it's 4-lane road. It's two westbound.
What are we talking? Like 4 city blocks, a mile?
No, it was 1,200 yards to the circle.
Can
so
you hit it with a bullet?
a 50 cal.
Okay.
So it's all the way down at the end, and it's just opposing streets all the way down. Right.
And you had a 50 cal.
Yeah, we had a Barrett.
You didn't have a McMillan.
No. McMillan was already by the time
You didn't have a H&S Precision.
by the time we were there, that was already old sauce.
I'm fucking with you.
I know. And so you could see it was just alleyways that went to these 4 lanes, and there's a convoy coming, and our job is to watch and report and make sure nobody's doing anything, crew served weapons and shit like that. And this convoy's coming, so every time a convoy is moving, you're watching it more importantly because they attack the convoys. And this dude,
What does an attack on a convoy look like? Like
it
dudes
looks like-
running up on foot and
no,
sandals,
it looks
or-
like a white Toyota pickup truck, a 1982 maybe.
Yeah, it's like the rollover bed with the hooks on it.
White Toyota pickup truck coming up real fast to the side of the vehicle of whatever it is, whatever type of truck it is.
What are they assaulting it with?
Children.
What?
Yeah, they haul up right behind the truck, and then they take kids and they throw them or place them on these vehicles, and the kids get in the back of the vehicles and they just start chucking everything out the back, and then when the convoy's about to hit the gate, they have to slow down to go through, and then the kids just climb out.
Is there not a troop in the back
No,
of the trucks?
not UN convoys. UN convoys are,
So
remember,
they're stealing supplies, food.
yeah,
or
they're
whatever.
stealing whatever's in there. Like the one day we saw it happen, it was lumber. They were throwing wood out and shit. And again, remember, this is a humanitarian effort, so there's no reason to have a guy in the back of the truck with an AK-47. We're there to help these people. That was the overall mission. And so this convoy's coming, and I think they were, I don't remember which country it was, but they were hauling ass. They were moving out. And this dude comes flying out of an alleyway. So he's, the trucks are close to the alley. He flies out of the alleyway and just gets missed by the truck, and he's pulling his camel. Camel gets whacked. Just boom. And then, a convoy keeps going. We're like, that was some crazy shit. Did you see that shit? That dude, and this is how we're looking at it. We're like, that dude almost got killed, dude. They almost ran his ass over. That was crazy. You're not really even thinking about the camel. You're like, the camel exploded, but the dude almost got run over. I can't believe.
What do they have camels for?
It's like cattle.
So they're going to eat the camel?
They eat them, they milk them. It's just like cattle over there.
Okay.
They're just very.
They're not riding them?
They do ride them, but
Okay.
but everybody has a Toyota Land Cruiser too. They're just very hardy in that part of the world, so they use camels like we use cattle.
Got it.
And so we got to go back. We got to see the New Zealander, and we got to debrief what happened on our 24 hours on post, right? And so you're like, yeah, this happened. It's, it's mostly admin stuff. When convoys came through, what happened, blah, blah, blah. And then we're like, yeah, crazy as shit, dude. Almost got plowed by a truck. They're like, what? I go, yeah. We're telling him, like, ran right out in front of that truck. Almost got killed. And he's like, but he didn't. And I go, no, he didn't. His camel did, though. And he's like, oh, okay. All right. We'll see him tomorrow. And we're like, what? I'm like, what do you mean you'll see him tomorrow? And he goes, the UN pays cash money for any animals that UN kills. And so they run animals out in front of convoys in order to try to get them to hit the animal so that they can say that we killed an animal. And the issue now is he specifically did it in front of you guys. So a lot of times they'll bring in a dead chicken and they'll be like, the UN killed this chicken. And we'll be like, well, who killed it? Prove it, right? And he goes, they did it specifically. Now I have documented proof that we killed this camel, so we're going to have to pay this guy. I can't remember what he said they pay him. And it was a pretty good sum of money. It was enough where I was like, I love my camel, but maybe I'd run my camel out there.
Is there a big demarcation between a human being and a camel?
I don't know.
If he brought in a child, what's the child worth?
I don't know specifics on. We never got into the meat and potatoes with the Norwegian about. He wasn't Norwegian. He was. What's that damn country where they?
Swedish.
No. You almost think it's. I know they're going to hate me. New Zealand. He was a New Zealander.
Oh, part of Australia.
Yeah, that guy.
But with better bungee jumping and fast boats. I'm fucking with you guys. We had some of them dudes come over for one of the parties. Flew over here to come to one of the parties.
Yeah, great guy. Great guy.
He was an EOD guy.
We did all our debriefs. We had to do our debriefs with the ODA with Captain Weber, and then we'd go over and do a debrief for the UN. But he's like, yeah, anytime the UN does something, damage to homes, whatever, we pay for it. So I'm like, that's crazy. Again, I'm not thinking about it you're
thinking, holy shit, that dude's lucky.
I'm in a big picture portion, right? I'm not thinking about it like that. So I don't even think about it. And then like a month later, a couple weeks later, probably
the same dude.
No.
Did you get to see him when he came in? Did he
didn't,
bring the
no.
parts of his dead
Didn't
camel?
Didn't see him.
But he did show up?
Oh yeah, guaranteed. That's what that whole thing, like he said, he did it in front of, because that's the other interesting thing about working with the UN. When they brought the snipers in, so there was only 9 of us that went ashore from BLT 19, 13th MEO. Was it 13th? Might have been 11th. I don't know. You COD guys will get me on that one.
That's funny. Use that from now on.
There's only 9 snipers that initially went ashore. They wanted Marine Scout snipers to replace the Special Forces guys on the sniper posts in order to allow the Special Forces guy to do Special Forces shit. Because they were up north training.
So they needed to go do some paving and build some churches or something?
More church building, less paving.
What were they really doing?
They were up north. There was a spot up in northern Somalia where they were trying to train pro-American forces to...
Would you rather train Somalis or would you rather train Iraqis?
Ooh, that's a tough question.
Can Somalis jumping jacks?
That's a tough question.
It's been too long for footage to be floating around, but there's still a lot of Iraqis who can't do it.
That's a tough question. Well, okay. Here's the difference. I would say Somalis
really
over Iraqis. And the only reason why I say that, again,
I think I'd rather eat Somali food than Iraqi
all you COD warriors, hear me out. The difference was in Iraq, we were trying to stand up a national army, right? So we were trying to stand up an army. We were trying to turn them into a U.S. professional military.
Yeah, that works so well.
Yes. Same thing with Afghanistan. We were trying to turn them into an army. And that's why there's videos of them doing jumping jacks, because when you're in the U.S. military, we think PT is a thing that you should be able to do. So that's why you have those pictures of them, or you have videos surfacing of Iraqis who don't know how to do jumping jacks. Big deal. That's not a quantifier. Jumping jacks has never, ever in the history of warfare been the quantifier of who wins and loses.
I'm with you. And when I think, why can I do jumping jacks, it's because we did them in first grade, second grade.
But to go back on why I would pick Somalis, in that particular incident, they were just training a rebel force. So they were training guys to fight against other Somalis. They weren't training a national army. So it would be more gun stuff, more tactic stuff, more meat and potatoes of warfare versus, can
I probably
this
shouldn't
group
build an obstacle course out here, probably.
No, you shouldn't.
Because when they fly the drone, they're going to definitely be like training course.
No,
terrorist
when
training course.
they fly the drone over, they're going to be like, now we know where we can send those 500 guys from the Department of Education for their training. Some black van's going to pull in here. They're going to give you $1 million to let them run through your obstacle course. So, like a couple weeks later, Chris shot a guy off a bus with the 50 cal. And
do you have to ask permission to shoot a guy?
If they fall within the rules of engagement, we don't have to ask for permission. Crazy thing is, we had
when you smoke a fool, does a dude come running up the stairs like, "What are you doing? What's going on? What's going on?" Or do you immediately have to report, "Hey, that's us shooting"?
So first engagement, the first engagement we had from K7 was Otto's garage.
I remember this guy.
Yeah, he's 350. His garage, his auto mechanics garage, was 350 yards right in front of K7, and they would go in and out of there all the time.
A lot of guys commented on that clip too. A lot of people showed up that were mad about that.
Why?
Because I don't know, because they were liberals.
Oh, well, I don't care. Hey, I was there. If you're mad because I was in Somalia shooting at Somalis, Clinton's the one that sent me there, buddy. So suck it. So Otto's garage was right in front of us, and
that's before I was telling you about the comments on the videos.
Yeah. Anyways, Otto's garage was right there in front of us, and I don't know why I was telling you about Otto's garage. Anyways,
because that was the first fucking contact.
That was first contact. That was
the
actually
dude that came out and would shoot and then fucking go back in.
No, we never fired at that guy. Like, again, we were young. We were super young. We were, all of us. I think 20 out of the 9 snipers, 22 was probably old. 23 maybe was probably 22 was probably old. So, yeah, that guy who would shoot at us every day, he never presented himself as a target.
He would go back behind the wall and shoot.
Yeah, he would shoot behind the wall, then he would walk out, he would wave at us, and he'd go inside. I'm sure he was getting I'm sure Otto was paying him like $5 a day to go out there and shoot at us.
Why would he do that? Why would Otto pay him?
Maybe hoping that he was going to hit us.
Just for fun.
Yeah, just for fun.
Okay.
Because
you weren't hindering Otto from doing it.
No. I think Otto still at that point in time. I think Otto might have still been in custody. Like, these were just the dudes hanging out at his garage, and so that dude he'd come out in the morning, and obviously he's right there. We're watching. We know that's HVT number 2 headquarters, and so we watch, and the dude would come out with his AK slung, and
nobody else had a fucking sling on their gun.
He would never look at us. He would walk straight across the street to the hospital grounds. He would go through the main gate. The hospital grounds had a 10-foot wall. It was at least 10 foot all the way around it. He had a 10-foot wall all the way around it. And on the inside of the courtyard, there was trees that were higher, that were technically higher than the wall. And so what he would do is he'd go through the gate, and then he'd walk down along the side of the wall. Take him like 2.5 minutes. Right? You obviously you figure out what's going on. It'd take about 2.5 minutes, and then we'd get like 4 shots from an AK. Boom, 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 boom.
Would they land near
at
you?
the post? No, they just, he's doing this. Boom, 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 boom. So he's shooting at the post, right? I think he only hit the bunker like 4 times, maybe.
What's the bunker made of?
It's just sandbags and wood. I think he only hit it like 4 times. So you were never
in danger, really.
Again, we were young. You never thought he was going to hit you, and so he would boom, boom, boom. So you saw him go across the street, boom, 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 and then like a minute later, he would come back, and he wouldn't look. He would just walk by and go back, and he was doing that every day. He was doing that every day to the point where I think Chris did it. I think he came out one time and kind of looked up at us, and Chris was like, hey, what's up? And he's like, hey, and went in. So after that, every day he would come out, he'd wave at us, we'd wave back, he would go do his thing, boom, 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 and then he would come back. Now, again, I know what people are going to say. When he was shooting at us, we were in our preview, we could have shot him, but he was behind a brick wall. We couldn't see him. We couldn't get in a position where we could see him, right? And when he came out, his weapon was slung. Everybody in Mogadishu was armed. His weapon was slung. It was an AK, not a crew serve weapon. So he was technically not a viable target. He did not fall within the rules of engagement once he stopped shooting.
So if you'd have drilled that dude.
Oh, I mean, here's the thing. If we would have shot him as a young 22-year-old Marine following rules of engagement, I believe at the time we'd have been in trouble. But after General Montgomery coming up to our post, 1-star Army general, coming up to our post and us telling him stories, because he was like, what do you guys see up here? And us telling him stories, and a couple of stories we told him, he's like, I'd have shot that guy. So he's the general in charge of all. He's a general in charge of all U.S. forces at the time, and he's like, "I'd have shot that guy." And we're like,
"Roger that."
No, because again, young Marines, we said the proper thing to say was, "It didn't fall within the rules of engagement, sir." And he's like, "Oh yeah, rules of engagement." But he was serious. Like if we, I feel like, because
was he giving you permission or was he? Just
I don't think he was.
freely?
Again. A 1-star general in Somalia, I don't know. Sorry, General. I don't know if he could have gave us permission. Because, again, we were under the UN Charter. We weren't.
So had you smoked that dude at Otto's garage, would somebody have come up to the gate tomorrow with his body and been like, you win, you owe us money?
Well, okay, so we did shoot somebody at Otto's garage. He had an M60 machine gun, which...
Were you able to recover the M60 machine gun?
Man, I
Did you like plan this mission out to go get the M60
No, I messed
machine
up. I messed up because we should have told them to bring it to us, but we didn't. So anyways, individuals got an M60 machine gun in the universe of armed forces. M60 machine gun is a crew-served weapon.
Bring me the gun of Rambo.
Right? It's a crew-served weapon. Now, I know. Some of you out there in Codland are going to be like, is it a crew-served weapon?
Yeah, somebody's got to carry the links in the barrel.
It's a crew-served weapon, right? Well, so this guy ends up coming out with the M60. We take him out, and Otto, he must have been out because he came down in his Mercedes. They stormed down. They're like, why did you shoot this guy? We're like, crew-served weapons. No. He had an M60 machine gun. That's a crew-served weapon. Pakistanis are flipping out. This is when you said, did they worry? Pakistanis were flipping out because we shot somebody from K7. Now, you have to understand that the Pakistanis, just a couple months earlier, Somalis had massacred 24 of their guys. So
what were they flipping out over? Worried that they were going to
get
overrun?
They were afraid that the Somalis would. They had kind of made peace with the Somalis in the sense that the Pakistanis would go out on patrol every day, but they wouldn't really do anything. They would just drive around and then come back, or walk around and come back. They wouldn't really do anything. And so the Somalis left them alone. It was like, we'll let you leave your compound if you do what we want you to do. And they, again, those Pakistanis were fucking engineers. It wasn't a combat battalion. They were just engineers and shit. So, I don't blame them, whatever. And so it became.
Have you ever seen any Bollywood movies?
Yes.
Is that Pakistan? That's how I picture them.
It's India.
Got it.
Yeah.
Same thing.
They got some elite fighters in those Bollywood movies, though. I mean, come on, India.
Yeah. That's where Jackie Chan went.
Yeah. Anyways, and so it was a little bit of an uproar because it was the first engagement we had, or since the Marines came ashore, it was the first one, and so we had to go debrief with the New Zealander. I don't know why I can't remember that. We had to go debrief with the New Zealander, and he's like, what happened? What? M60 machine gun? That's not a crew-served weapon. And we're like, yeah, it is. Even the saw is a crew-served weapon. You got a guy that carries a spare barrel and the extra ammo. It's a crew-served weapon. And he's like, That's not what they were talking about. He's like, that's not what the UN, because the UN was the one that established the rules of gaming.
Well, what were they talking about?
They were talking about mortars, Dishka machine guns, things like. They were talking about heavy crew served weapons, not just crew served weapons. And I'm like, you said crew served weapons. That was a crew served weapon. And he goes, well, what about a RPD? And Chris was like, RPD is like a saw. Saw is a crew served weapon. It is in the Marine Corps. And he's like, He goes, I think I can sell this. He goes, I think I can sell this. I think I can make this happen. And so, again, that was the end of it. We went and debriefed Weber, and he was like, ding, you guys broke your cherry. Great. Welcome to Somalia. And then and that was the first one. And then Chris's guy had an RPK, which was...
Did you actually have a bell that he rang?
No.
Oh.
No. Which is kind of a crew serve weapon.
Do you get an extra brand
really.
that night, or do you get a tattoo? What do you get?
You don't get anything.
You don't get nothing.
You don't get nothing. You get high five.
They didn't give you extra
I'm
rations?
sorry. Hey, I'm sorry, my liberal compatriots. Nothing happened. It was just another day in the U.S. military. Some of you will say it never happened, so it doesn't matter.
What's a Chad? I saw somebody saying that too. Chad.
I don't know.
That's such a Chad thing to say.
I think it's like a normal average.
Okay, so second camel.
Regular people.
Second camel.
It was the same thing, but a different side of the. It was the same thing, but different. So it was actually behind us.
How many people actually got shot in Somalia?
When we were there,
you guys
or
were there?
17.
17.
So and this is for all you COD warriors. You can go to 1st Battalion 9th Marines Historical Archives, and you can look that time and date up, and you will see there is a list of all the individuals who served in Mogadishu. My name is also on that list. Crazy. And you'll see exactly what happened and how many people we were
smoking.
How many people that we were involved in dispatching. And that is in the Marine Corps archives. And if you don't want to see that, you can also come and look at my Navy Achievement Medal.
I heard there's some books written about.
I mean, there might be a book or two, but who cares? I mean, I'm not an old guy trying to get famous. If that was the case, I would have been famous when they put me in Call of Duty, bitches. I'm in Call of Duty, so you can suck it.
It's fucking hilarious. They don't know.
Yeah. So it was interesting. You know, Mogadishu was. It was less of a, again, your experience may vary. I am sure for the Rangers and the Delta guys on that day and maybe days prior, they weren't yucking it up, right? But when we showed up to Somalia, when we landed on the LZ, we were greeted by we were greeted by a full bird colonel in flip-flops. Okay? Flip-flops.
So you're saying there were no Crocs there?
No, Crocs wasn't a thing yet. Crocs didn't.
You think he would have been wearing Crocs?
I guarantee you'd have been wearing
not
Crocs.
flip-flops?
Wearing Crocs. Like we had no
flip-flops still have some class.
Like we had no relevant information. Because again, our battalion was going to
your faces painted when you came
No,
ashore?
we didn't face paint. I'm surprised we didn't. Because we had no relevant information. We were going to the Persian Gulf. That was the whole focus of training and everything. We're going to go to the Persian Gulf. This shit happens. The only information that the battalion has, we are getting from CNN. We are watching CNN.
And the ship goes.
Yeah, the ship's like
full steam.
They battle steamed. They left the little ships behind because they couldn't keep up, and we battle steamed into Mogadishu.
Why didn't they just fly you off the ship? Too far?
No, I don't. I mean, we probably. Get an aircraft because where we were at, I don't think it would have worked out.
Oh, you weren't on the Boxer or something?
Yeah, we were on a, I don't know if it was the Boxer, but we were on an LHA. That's the LHA battle steam because the LHA can haul ass while the other ones can't really do it.
That's the Marine Corps aircraft carrier, basically.
At the time, all we had was Harriers and
Hueys.
So
got it. Okay.
Huey wouldn't have made it.
Okay.
Anyway, so we battle steam there and get there, and so all we've been told is what we've seen on CNN. So as far as we're concerned, Mogadishu's on fire. Black Hawk down. We're gonna save the day. And that's what the Marine, that's what the S2 and everybody's like, yeah, we're going to war. They were hyping it up. And then when I think we were still a day out maybe, and they're like, it is happening. Jay Sodaf just requested every single sniper we have. We're sending snipers. The snipers are going. You guys are fucking going. And they opened the war locker on board that ship. And again, they were giving us, we had Claymore mines. Everybody had like 6 hand grenades, all the fucking 5.56 you can carry, all the, like, I think for just to get ashore, I had 180 rounds just for the M40, which I can't even imagine firing 180 rounds, with the M40 at hostiles, right? That's a lot of bolt gun action. And so, I had an M203. I had a full complement of HEDP. We were wearing we were wearing flak jackets, helmets.
When they open up the war room or whatever and hand you all that shit.
Yeah.
Is that gun assigned to you? That was the gun.
That's all your own equipment. So it's just the ammo. You usually don't. It's kind of rare to see ammo in the berthing area. Like usually when when you do a loadout, it's in the hangar deck. It's up on the flight deck. You're usually doing it in those controlled environments. They were just like pouring shit down in our area because they're like, they just want snipers. Okay. And then we had some Force Recon snipers aboard, and we had some Navy SEALs aboard. Navy SEALs were like, we're going. The MU commander's like, no, you're not. The Force Recon guys were like, we got snipers, we're going. The battalion commander, the MU commander again, looking for future operations is like, they do it for a living. I'm going to need you guys in case we got to do fucking hostage rescue. Said the same thing to the SEALs. The SEALs immediately went, nah, we're not playing by your rules. And they cross-deck over to the carrier group because the carrier's got an admiral, and an admiral outranks a MU commander. And so we technically got ashore before the SEALs. They came after the fact, but so we literally get on board this CH-46, and in our mind,
that's a dual
prop. We get on the CH-46, and in our mind, just because of the news and what the only information we've got, like we don't even have maps of Mogadishu because we were going to the Middle East. In our mind, we're like, we're fighting our way ashore. They're gonna drop us off in an LZ, and we're gonna have to fight to the embassy. That's what we were thinking. And
were you capable of water drop? Were you capable?
No, hell no. No, not at all. Snipers don't really do that.
That would have been battalion recon snipers.
Yeah, battalion recon and shit like that. So we land at the LZ. It's a nice white sandy area around the LZ, and
were there lawn chairs?
We're greeted by an Air Force colonel who was in charge of Jay Sodaf, and he's in his flip flops, and he's like, he sees us, and he's like, "Oh shit, who's going to war?" And we're like, "Didn't some shit?" Just, we're like, "We're ready. Hey, open the doors. We're ready to fight the mongrels off the wall, or let's hit that Trojan horse." And no, not at all. He's just like, "Oh no, come on, come over here. We got a nice spot for you."
Steak and lobsters at 7.
They had it going on. He's like, what do you got for sleeping arrangement? And our platoon sergeant's like, we brought our shelter halves. Because at this time, the Marine Corps was still using shelter halves.
Foam mat, a poncho liner.
We brought our shelter halves, and he goes, the colonel's like, what? What is that? What exactly is that? He's like, the pup tents you put together, button them up, and he's like, oh hell no. He goes, hell no, I am not having that in my area. I ain't some damn slumlord. You guys are not living in those tents. And so he had in 20 minutes, they had a spot for us. In 20 minutes, he's like, we got you a tent. And it's one of those nice,
Right,
it's one of those nice Air Force tents that the Marine Corps, it took the Marine Corps another 20 years before they got them, but really nice tent. So this is a super nice tent. And there's a warrant officer,
massage therapist.
there's an Army warrant officer, there's a Marine gunny, there's a captain, Army captain, and an Army major. And they're on this balcony and they're looking down at us. The Air Force guy comes over, tech sergeant, I think, or corporal or something. He comes over and he drops the tent off. And he's like, there you go, boys. Tent it up. Now, you've got 9 snipers and our platoon sergeant.
Do you drop it off like a forklift? Or
Yeah,
how do you,
like a forklift. 9 snipers and our platoon sergeant, and we're all looking at this tent. And the gunny, he goes, or I think it was the major's like, do they even know what that is? And the gunny's like, we don't have those. And he goes, are you guys going to be able to put that together? And, we're like, of course. And we're like, we don't even know how to open the motherfucker. And finally, all those guys came down, like the warrant officer, the major, they put our fucking tent together. They put the tent together, got it all squared away and everything all up and shit. And they're like, there you go. Now you got a place to live. We're going to bring you cots. Now our platoon sergeant, he was old school. And so he's like, no, we got ISO mats. They're like, no, you can't sleep on ISO mats. It's not that rough here. We got cots. And so we all had cots. We get it all set up, right? So we got the tent set up and everything, cots. The colonel comes in his flip-flops again. And he's like, you guys all squared away? Everything good? He looks down on the ground and it's dirt. It's dirt floor. And he goes, what happened? Where's the rest of the tent? And my platoon sergeant's like, oh, we don't need all that. We're Marines. We're fine. This is good. This is better than we've ever lived. And he's like, he literally goes, I'm not concerned about your Marines. He goes, I don't want to have to walk in this tent and get sand in my flip-flops. You need to get a floor in here. And so the Air Force guy brings the floor.
Did you guys have your guns with you?
Yeah, we had everything with us. He puts the floor in the tent. Again,
There are probably no other guns in camp.
No, everybody has guns. Everybody has guns.
Did the colonel have a?
No, Colonel did not. He was an Air Force guy, so he was just in charge. And so we get the floor in, and so we're like, this is rock star status. We got to go meet.
What about
Captain
the
Weber?
air conditioner? They didn't.
We got to go meet Captain Weber. And do all that stuff. Colonel comes in like an hour later because the Air Force tech guy, he knew the right answers. We just weren't listening to him. Like he knew the Air Force tech guy was like, hey, you want this floor? No, we don't want the floor. We don't need it. You're going to want the floor. We're like, no, we don't need. No, you're going to want the floor. And then he brings the floor and he's like, I told you. And then he brings the air conditioner. He's like, you guys want this air conditioner? Platoon sergeant again. No, my Marines need to stay climatized to the area so they're ready to go, blah, blah, blah. Given the line, right? The party line. And he's like, you sure? You don't want this air conditioner? And he's like, no, we don't want it. Take it away. And so he takes it away. Like a couple hours later, again, Colonel comes in. He's looking at the floor. He's like, yeah, I got this floor in. That's good. I'm not going to get no sand in my flip-flops and shit. He's like, that's good. He goes, you guys need it? He's looking around. He's like, it's a little warm in here. What's the temperature in here? You think it's 80 in here? It's a little warm. Is the air conditioner not working? Hey, you know what? I'm going to get my guy over here. We'll get that air conditioner fired right up. And my platoon sergeant's like, we don't need no air conditioner. We're Marines. He's like, again, I'm not coming into your stinky, hot tent. Get the air conditioner. So we get the air conditioner hooked up. Imagine you're offshore, right? You've been watching CNN. You're frothing at the bit. This is the first opportunity the Marine Corps has had in a long time for some action. So they're frothing at the bit. Everybody's sharpening their knives. They're polishing their rifles. Everybody's
real sharpening.
Yeah, everybody's getting ready. Like they're ready. They want to come ashore. They want to get in the action, right? So the MEU is just out there floating, and everybody's just frothing at the bit to come in. The first thing we ask for. So the first support requirement that we sent to the ship is, hey, we didn't bring our sleeping bags. Can you send our sleeping bags in? So the first support we get from the MEU is they gather up all our sleeping bags and they fly our sleeping bags in because this tent is so goddamn cold that we need sleeping bags. So cold that we need sleeping bags. And then we took over the posts we took over all we took over 2 sniper posts from the Army, and the one on top of the embassy and one on top of K7. and I will tell you that, you know, the Special Forces guys, Captain Weber and his ODA 235, I don't remember. Anyways, Captain Weber and those guys, awesome. Like anything possible that we needed, they were like, yeah, we got it. Like they gave us extra 50 cal. When we get ashore, the Army has already transitioned to the big 119. So the Army's already transitioned to the first 119 variants. Okay. And they're running all encrypt.
Okay, we're radios. Okay.
Yeah, radios, 119s. They're running all encrypt.
That's the Singars. Mm-hmm. The smaller one that'll fit in the pocket?
No, this is the big one.
Okay.
This is the big boy. This is the first one. And so they're running all encrypted. We're the Marine Corps. We show up with a PRC 77. And he's like, what do you guys what do you got there for radios? What kind of Sneaky Pete stuff do you guys got over there? And we're like, we got a 119. And he's like, a 77. We got a PRC 77.
For guys that don't know, a Vietnam radio was like a 10 and a 25. The 77 was
came right after,
like
but it's still
80s.
Still outdated, right? And he's like, oh my God, that's just not going to work. That's not going to work. We can't talk to you on that thing. What is it? Got tubes in it? He's just making fun of us. And we're like, that's what we got. And so he's like, come back tomorrow. And he had an SF guy in a cage. Just an SF guy in a cage. It was like being at the zoo because this guy was in this cage and he had all kinds of stuff and lights.
Like the James Bond Q laboratory.
He had smoke. There was stuff going on in this cage. And he's like, yeah, come back tomorrow. I got you covered. We'll get it squared away. And so we come back the next day and he's like, because Captain Weber had said, all our 119s are allocated. Everybody's got them. We don't have an extra. But come back tomorrow. So we come back the next day, and he's like, here's your 119. Okay. Why'd we have to wait if you had one? And he's like, it took all night for him to build that motherfucker. And we're like, what? He goes, yeah, we're only allowed so many of these radios because they're hot. They're the new hotness. But my commo can order every single part that goes in the radio to repair the radios because we're out forward. And so we just make extras. And so he made us this. And you see the guy in there. He's got the soldering iron. He's like, it's like he's welding in there, and he's making his radio. I know, guys. You're gonna say that never happened. Fuck off. Your experience may vary. So he's in there building these radios and shit. And he's like, yeah, I can anything electronic I can do. He was their commo guy, and so we now have this 119 for our post.
Would you still carry that radio today?
The 119, like original big one? Yeah, it was a good radio. It was a good. The only problem with modern radios is to use them to their full effect. So like the big thing about the thing that made the original 119 very cool was the frequency hopping of that radio. So you could set in frequency hop and you could hop so somebody couldn't just find your channel.
They'd never catch you.
They've well improved it. It's a little teeny thing now. It's much better. The only limiting factor on it is the batteries. The batteries are still kind of big, but again,
I remember even Camp Pendleton had when we were still in Oceanside, that new radio had come out and they were putting them in cargo pockets on the pants.
Yeah, that was the new. That's the newer version. They're a little bit smaller and shit than the big 119s. It's a good radio, but again,
when we started doing when we were doing ruck mods for a battalion recon radio dude or like a radio recon out of Hawaii, those guys were carrying like 3 fucking radios.
Oh yeah, they carried a shit ton of radios.
We were putting 2,600 extra cubic inches onto a large Alice pack.
And so what year is this? Is this in the 90s?
2000s. Oh. Probably. I mean, I don't think we were in Oceanside into that shop until 2000.
I was just thinking that because there was a period of time where we were using a KY 60 something.
Then
For the-
the SAT was separate.
for a 104. We had a 104 radio, which was the
And that was,
HF
then you
long
had the
range.
encryption box.
And then we had the encryption box, which was bigger at the
than
time.
radio.
It was bigger than the radio,
Yeah.
so you had to two-ruck it, and you would back to back, and then you would hook the thing up, and then you would try and
Yeah.
make a call. It was
So
it was
we
a pain in the ass.
were taking, because the whole inner compartment was filled mostly with radio gear
Yeah.
for the comm guy. And then we would add all those extra pockets and the big pocket on the bottom, and then we'd make the lid a separate pack and all kinds of shit. It added 2,600 inches in addition to the large mountain ruck. And then we had taken a frame and basically built a way to put the commo on the frame. And then that was kind of in a pouch on the frame. And then we built the back of the bag around that so you could actually ripcord that and drop all the cargo with the bag, but still keep the comms on you. So when you
gotcha. That makes
ripcord,
sense.
you didn't release the straps and drop the pack. You
Just
pulled
the
the
pack came
ripcord, and then the SAT came off. Yeah. I was working with that.
What a pain in the ass that must have been to put back together.
Yeah, it wasn't. You weren't putting it back together right there. Like it's E&E kind of shit.
Yeah, that's the pull the. That's
yeah,
the,
I'm in the water.
That's dropping people's vests when you see their thing.
Yep.
Oh man, you could get beat up for doing that.
Or pulling their reserve chute, or fucking resetting zero in their watch.
Yeah.
On their dive.
Yeah. So I mean, the SF guys were great about, like, they gave us a Humvee. They were like, they had two motorcycles, and me and Chris were like, can we get a motorcycle? He's like, what for? I don't know, because you just got them. He's like, nah, you can't ride those around here. You get in trouble. But they gave us a Humvee, and then we had a couple of nighttime issues. A couple of things happened at night where we couldn't respond, because at that time the Simrad was like brand new, and the Simrad we had, it worked. Again, it worked, but it was like you were looking through a fish tank, right? So it wasn't very good. It was still better to shoot a flare than it was to use that Simrad. It was like the very first version of that. You couldn't adjust the zero on it or nothing.
Still better than a PVS-4 or.
I don't know.
PVS.
I think if we would have had a PVS-4 on an M4 or a, I mean, we had I had the 203 or an M16A2, because this was still M16A2 time. I think the M16A2 with the PVS-4 would have been better than the M40 with that particular Simrad. We only had one. It was like a big thing to get it. And
what was going on in the dark? Because you guys weren't running carnivoles in the dark.
No, but they would there was just some situations where they would start some shit at night, and we couldn't really do anything about it. Like, we couldn't really see it.
Like, start some shit with you guys.
No,
at base?
other militias and shit.
So the motorcycles they had, the SF guys weren't rolling dirt bikes out in town, right?
They had brought them, and then they just never used them. And so we're like, I've got a 203. I can leave my 203 on, because every 24 hours the post would rotate with another sniper team. I said I could leave my 203 on the post, and that gives those guys, because I think I was the only one that had a 203, that gives those guys an ability to fire off a loom. He goes, but we don't have another one for the embassy, and then I won't have my rifle. And so Captain Weber's like, here's an M4 carbine. So, that while I was the cool guy running around Mogadishu with a slicked out, I don't know what the number was, but it was an A1 Car 15 little pencil barrel, still had the old style A1 sights on it and shit. I got to be the cool guy with that gun.
Triangle handguard.
Triangle handguard.
No,
it was a round handguard. It was a round handguard. The old aluminum buttstock that they used to have. And then he's like, we're like, well, we don't have any illumination for the embassy. What's the embassy going to do? And Captain Weber's like, we got a 61 millimeter mortar. Would that work? And, we're, again, young Marines were like, yeah, that'd work. And that would work. And then behind closed doors, everybody's like, hey, do you know how to fire a mortar? Anybody here ever fired a mortar? Like, we're not mortarmen. I know there's some dialing and some whizzing and some things you have to do, some prepping. There's some things you have to do to make this thing work. We're not mortarmen, but we're not going to be like, yeah, we don't know how to use that thing. We're going to be like, okay, somebody get, Did
you guys ever get to use
get
it?
the manual. Oh, yeah, we fired three rounds off the top of the embassy. I was not part of that crew, but they fired 3 rounds on top of the embassy. Now,
What were the rounds?
just aluminum. No HE or anything.
Those,
like that.
once they're up, they're on.
Yeah, they
on
go
a
up, they
parachute.
pop. But
yeah, okay.
again, if you want the illumination in a certain area, you kind of have to know how to use a mortar. And so, one of the SF guys came up and he was like, I'm gonna show you how to use this thing, because we eventually were like, we don't know what the fuck we're doing. And so the SF guy came up and he's like, tonight we're gonna fire 3 rounds. And I'm going to show you how to do it, and it'll be set. And then if you ever need, because our big concern was the hospital area, just getting a loom over the hospital. So we'll set it up. It'll be fire and forget. All you have to do is drop this thing in there. And so they fired 3 rounds. Now, this is a 60 millimeter mortar on top of a concrete building. It's sandbagged in, but it's still, it's
Moving.
It's still firing. And we fired those 3 rounds, and then the next day, the New Zealanders like, what the fuck were you guys doing up there last night? And we fired the mortar with the looms and shit, the SF, special forces and shit. And he's like, oh no, you can't have that. That's got to go. We're like, what? We need some mortars in the thing with the lights. And he's like, you know how much fucking noise that thing makes every time you fire it? His dust and shit is falling down on the UN secretary. We can't have that shit.
I can picture all the dust on the rooftop.
That's got to go. And so I think they ended up getting us another 203 to have on that post too.
All right, so.
But since none of that shit happened,
Okay, last question.
Caught it out.
Last question,
because it's been going long. Oh my God.
Do you think there are people that want to kill us as U.S. citizens?
Oh, all over the world.
Do you think there's people within the United States?
I'm sure there are people
that wants to remove some of its U.S. citizens.
100%.
Why do you think that they say, it is said, I've seen several videos and clips from the World Health Organization, for instance, or Davos, or, the biggest threat to the world is all the guns in the United States, and we need to disarm the U.S. citizens. Why would they want to do that?
It's the biggest threat to tyranny.
That's I agree.
Guns are a threat to tyranny. That's
Yes.
all.
And what has happened anytime a society has been disarmed?
It doesn't turn out well for the society.
Yeah, the society, they always end up killing part of the society. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of very prominent people.
And usually, usually the ones that are waving the flag, if you're waving the flag super hard on the side of ban guns, okay? If you're waving that flag, I get it.
They eat their own, guys.
You're thinking emotionally. You're not thinking rationally. I get it.
Because you have a vagina.
No, not necessarily. There's some penises out there, but you're waving that flag.
Those penises also have a vagina.
When the day comes that they do win and you get to celebrate that all the guns are gone, you're going to be put on the train too. They don't want you either. Okay, they don't.
Useless idiots.
They just want sheeple. They want people who are going to follow orders. I mean, how many politicians have been on camera talking about, if you didn't get the COVID vaccine, you shouldn't be part of society?
Yeah, they actually said execute. They actually said terminate.
That is the most Nazi thing you can completely say. And if you were a party to it, that means you're a Nazi, guys. I don't care if you're wearing a MAGA hat or a Democratic Party hat. If you were a party to end people's lives because they didn't get the vaccine, you're fucking Nazi.